Okay. I'd like to call to order the Parks, Property and Streets Committee meeting on Monday, August 4th, 2025 at 1 p.m. Could I get roll call, please?
Laskowitz.
Down here.
Housen here.
Bruno here.
Arns here.
Okay, next would be, do I have a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting?
So moved.
Did you want to amend it?
Oh, gosh, stop. I'm sorry. I'd like to amend the agenda for today's meeting. Item 5A, Frontier Communications, Mike Nelson, VP External Affairs, and Todd Cruz, Government and Grant Affairs, Sister Bay Area Fiber Project. Mike Nelson is unable to attend, and Todd Cruz can attend, but it's important that Mike be here as well. So we're going to move that out to this is the September meeting, which this next month is going to be September 8th, I think. So do I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, beg your pardon. Let's see, do I have any edits or approval for the minutes from July 7th, 2025?
For the long days, one of the asks I thought coming out of it was for staff to in the future prepare a standardized form and list of asks and costs for future such events. But I didn't see that listed as one of the actions there.
You are correct, Jerry, and I have been working on that, but it should be.
Well, is that covered by the process for reserving the pavilion and getting committee approval or no?
No, that was a specific thing that Julie was gonna work on, seeing that this was the first time we had dealt with somebody outside of SBAA.
Well, we do have the Door County Symphonic Orchestra. I think that's the name. I think I have that right. That's done it in the past. But, and I'm assuming that maybe we use the same because they're, Ellie, they played this year too, right?
They ended up, they got canceled because of weather.
But they did, they were on
Peninsula Symphonic Band.
the Peninsula Symphonic Band, beg your pardon. Okay, and that, they didn't go through you, right? They went through the
No, they
village?
went to the village.
Okay. All right, so Jerry, do you want to make a? How do
You
you
want
want
that added into the minutes?
Want that added
Yeah.
into the minutes, right? Okay. Are you good with how that change would read? Sarah?
Could you help me restate that?
Just that a formalized process be defined for defining the cost, items to be delivered, and procedure for us to review and then approve. That sounds like what you're working on, right?
We were actually going to bring it to this meeting, but the agenda was so long, we decided to hold off.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. Does anybody have anything else from that agenda? Any edits, changes?
I do.
Okay.
If no one else does. On page 4, line 39, and the referral the committee had made to Parks, I think it should state that the referral that came from the Plan Commission had made to the Parks Committee, not the Parks Commission.
So the referral that the Plan Committee had made to the Parks Committee,
Plan Commission.
sorry, Plan Commission had made to the Parks Committee. Yeah. not Parks
On
Commission.
top of page 6, number 2, the fact that crops, corn had already been planted without a contract. I think it should state that it was not hay as it was the previous year. Under H.
So, you're keeping up with it, okay? Sure.
Mhm.
Page 8, yep.
H 20 and 21 don't belong here. It's reviewing the binocular order. This is talking about crosswalks.
I'm sorry, where are you?
H, review binocular order.
On what page? I beg your pardon.
Line, it's
Same
page 8,
page.
line 20 and 21.
Page 6.
Oh, page 6.
No, it's not page 8, yeah.
Page 6.
Page
Okay.
6,
Item
item
H.
H.
Okay, page 6, item 20 and 21. Got it, okay.
Page 7, line 26, consensus was reached to prioritize the cardinal roads. They're not the cardinal roads.
So just delete Cardinal Roads because you've got the roads.
No,
written down.
because it's Cardinal Court North and Bluebird.
And Cardinal Court Full Road. So Cardinal Court, those two words before Bluebird
Mhm.
would be deleted. So I'm not sure, Eric, what's the difference between Cardinal Court North and Cardinal Court Full Road?
Nothing. There's just one cardinal court.
All right, so Sarah, essentially eliminate Cardinal Court North and Cardinal Court.
Well, hold on. The bids were for, the names of the bids were Cardinal Court North and then Cardinal Court Bluebird. So,
That's why she wrote it. Okay,
that's why they were written that way, because that's what the handout said. That's the
okay,
title that was on the handout.
okay. Was Cardinal Court Full Road in the bids?
Yes, yeah.
So
there was
they were
three
all in
different
there.
ones.
Okay, so just eliminate the cardinal roads. Yep. Okay, I'm sorry, Denise, anything else?
No.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve as amended?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we are now on to comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public. We'll start with those in person. Sure. Hi.
Hi, my name is Mary Weiss, and I live in Door County for the summer and a half.
Could you just give us your address?
Oh,
just for the minutes?
2366 Parkview.
2366 Parkview, great.
Yeah. I've lived in Door County every summer for over 10 years, and the last 7 in Sister Bay. We are right across from the amphitheater, and I love Sister Bay. I love the vibrancy and I love the balance between that and the natural setting. And I'm also a person that usually keeps their head down and just kind of goes with the flow when the flow makes sense. But I want to talk to you guys about what happened 2 Saturdays ago at the amphitheater. It was not Sister Bay and it didn't make any sense. And I want to tell you firsthand what happened because we live right across the way. By far, 2 to 3 times louder than anything that's ever been at the amphitheater. And on top of that, easily the most annoying thing that ever happened at the amphitheater. Second place is not even close. After an hour or two, and he started probably by 3 and it went till 10 o'clock p.m. There was no one on the waterfront. Everyone had pulled out, they'd taken their families. By about 7, 8 o'clock, my husband walked downstairs to see who was left, and it was about 8 of his friends. We couldn't measure the decibel level, obviously, but it was, like I said, 2 to 3 times louder than anything we've ever had. We closed our windows, we closed our doors. It wasn't even music, it was like a performance. It was like a big DJ setup with amazing speakers, and he messaged for over 7 hours. He messaged, he ranted, there was no singing, there was not a single musical instrument. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen on the amphitheater. And at some point, homeowners were confronting him on the stage. Because we can hear every word, it was so loud. Homeowners were saying, you need to stop, you need to get off. And his response was, quote unquote, I'm lit and I'm gonna stay lit till 10 o'clock. And you should have all thought about this before you purchased property by a public waterfront. So at that point, I was getting a little bit nervous. Like I said, I pretty much keep my head down, but I'm like, something's gonna start right here and my spider sense is tingling. I called the police, the non-emergency number. They couldn't even hear me. And I'm in our condo. They couldn't hear me over him. They told me he had a permit. And I was like, have you seen the permit? Because I just couldn't believe he had a permit. They didn't say whether they saw the permit or not. So Monday morning I went in and I talked with Sarah and she said I wasn't the first one that morning to come and talk to the offices about what happened on Saturday night. And she showed me his permit and he out and out either lied or he misled. And I think that that's cause for a revocation, hopefully of a permit, because if he lied out of the gate or misled out of the gate, he's going to do it again. I know he's thinking about applying for more permits. You can check him out yourself. He's on the corner by Wild Tomato pretty much on Friday and Saturday nights, doing what he did on the stage. He just doesn't have his speakers. So if you want to check him out, you can definitely stop there on a Friday or Saturday night. It was, like I said, just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. It was loud, it was offensive. People didn't like what they saw or they heard and they left. And I just kind of contrast that to what happened last Wednesday when there was this amazing band and there was 50 people of all ages doing a conga line during the performance of this band. And I think that's what you guys hopefully want to see and that's what Sister Bay wants to see as well. And so I can't criticize people for trying new things. I think I'm all for that. But in the future, and I know you guys are talking obviously about a more formal process for application and approval of a permit. I looked him up. I looked up this like musical days thing. It was one thing during the pandemic. It looked like it was at some abandoned barn. It was him and his friends doing the same kind of thing that happened 2 Saturdays ago. So I think in the future, if something like this comes along and it's a first time application, maybe hopefully one of the committee members can come down and actually see what's happening that night. They could maybe get references from supposedly where this guy performed before. And in this instance, you wouldn't have gotten a reference unless you made it up. So again, I'm here to just kind of tell you firsthand what happened. It was really concerning. Never seen anything like that in all my years at Sister Bay. And we obviously all make mistakes, but hopefully we're gonna learn from them and not let it repeat itself. And I'm happy to answer questions that anyone has, because we were there for the whole 7 hours. Any questions or comments, or do any of you kind of live down by the amphitheater or were there that night?
No, I don't, no.
Can I say something? I don't know. This is public.
No.
You can't say anything?
Yeah, when you're finished, then we'll take other public comment.
Oh,
Not a
I
problem.
thought she was asking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
sure,
Done.
sure. So, okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
We appreciate your input and patience. Thanks. Ron, did you have something to say?
I just wanted to add that the person she's talking about, we have banned from our place too on our karaoke nights
Okay,
because of this offensive rhetoric. You know. He's actually banned from our place totally, so. And from a few other places.
Yeah, that's
Just
that's
thought
right.
I'd endorse what you're saying.
Yeah.
With
okay,
some type of real life experience, you know.
okay.
There's mental illness involved.
Yeah,
so
there
let's
is.
Keep that in mind.
Right.
Yeah, so we kind of feel sorry for him too,
But we also have
but he doesn't belong in a public
Yes.
place.
and I hate to be totally rude, but I have 16 family members in town, and so I have to go back.
Oh, no, it's of
But if
course.
anyone has
We appreciate your coming. Thank you.
anything,
No,
okay,
nothing.
I gotta go back to the
All right.
journal that's at my house.
Okay,
Thank you.
yes, thank you. Okay, do we have any other comments from anybody in the, yes,
Any comments about?
Anything.
Or anything?
anything? Have at it.
I'm not much, but I have worked for Vail Resorts, the busiest ski resort in the entire world.
I'm sorry, could you give us-
Downtown.
I know that we don't, but could you give us your name and?
Michael Delio, I'm sorry.
Sorry, and your address.
I don't know,
Just street's good.
Sister Bay.
There we go. Okay.
The crosswalk situation downtown is very, very dangerous. I bet you there's not a person in this room that hasn't tried to run that gauntlet with some kid stepping out from behind a giant truck that's too close to the crosswalk and you cannot see. All right? I have seen people, bus drivers, kill somebody. And you know how many people it affects? Everybody, including the bus driver. Homicide. Across from Al Johnson's, I've seen little kids bolt out thinking that they are safe because they are in a crosswalk. You can't see them until they're a third of the way across the street. That needs to be blocked out on either side of those crosswalks so that you can see. Okay? I don't know why you're waiting for an accident. Same thing in Breckenridge. When there was a death, you know what they put in? A flashing crosswalk. But it took someone to get killed first. Kids across the street at the beach, town's an open bar, mom and dad are sitting at Skull. We need a dollar for something. Bolt across the street. I guarantee you it's going to happen. And it's only a matter of time. And I don't know why you want to wait. The other thing, Country Walk Drive is now a 4K kindergarten. Okay? That needs to be a school zone. I don't know why it's not. It needs to be a school zone and there needs to be a speed bump. If you go sit up there for 20 minutes and watch how fast people go around, that has become a local shortcut. And they smoke through that road. People have put their own personal slow down children's signs along there. There's one speed limit sign when you enter Country Walk Drive from 42, and there's one when you enter it, I'm sorry, this way. One at the beginning of each, and it's 25 miles an hour. And people go through there at 40. And there's lots of our workforce here in Door County that's now has been up there, and they're all getting little kids and strollers, and they walk along that road, and it's vast and it's dangerous. And I mean, it's gonna be a school zone. Why don't we just order signs and we'll put them up? Does it have to be approved by the county? This is one of our roads. Well, I mean, there you go. And if you want me to keep going about how parking downtown, everybody thinks that stating all these parking places on the street, they park, they take the boat, they leave for 4 hours. They park, they go to the beach, they leave for 4 hours. They rent boats from the boat rental place and they park on the street and they leave their car all day. All the people that own shops along that street are missing out because they can't use those parking places and there's no off-street parking. You invite them all here like crazy, but where are they gonna go? Our old town shop needs to be a parking lot. The marina needs to give up some of that parking and it needs to be off-street parking. Limit the parking time downtown and you will make more money. Look it up, busiest ski resort in the world and see what they do. And people still come. But as far as the crosswalks downtown, I think that should be something we should do as soon as we can. And all of this is just time waiting for someone to get killed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else?
We do have some
Okay.
questions that came in.
Do we have any, okay, correspondence? And what, is there anybody online? No, besides me? No, okay.
So we
correspondence?
had some correspondence that came in, that we received this morning. One was, complaining about the, Sage Bruce, freedom of speech exercise that occurred again this weekend, encouraging us to do something. The individual admits that they are now hostile. They've had enough. So that has become an issue for us. We have one about pedestrian walkway. Would the village consider making the pedestrian walkway at the intersection of Country Walk Lane and Highway 42 more visible? Currently, vehicles frequently stop over the double walkway, creates a hazardous situation for residents who regularly walk through that area. And as you know, we have discussed doing something there and applying for that TSIP grant, but TSIP, yes. But we decided to wait a little bit on that. And then the other one we got was that people are taking rocks off of Pebble Beach. They've actually dug down, this person is saying they dug down deep enough that you can actually see the dirt. They're saying there's actually a Facebook page dedicated to the rocks from Pebble Beach. I did research it. We do have an ordinance which prohibits that. It's posted at the beach. It's ordinance 273, which was adopted in 2020.
Yeah,
So,
that's been going on for a long time.
and that's
I don't
what
see
we
that
have.
correspondence. Did everybody else get that
It
correspondence?
just came in today. So I just received that today.
Okay, so the correspondence that we got from, about Sage, the person that wrote it, they called it a freedom of speech thing?
No,
You have
so,
it there?
no, this came in today.
Right, but did they call it a freedom of speech thing?
No,
They did not?
no.
But you,
Sage calls it, when he came into the office on July 24th, I think it was the 25th. He had called it, he was going to exercise his free speech.
okay, I just wondered if they did. Okay,
No,
okay, so we'll get those forwarded to us.
well, there'll be some, I'm making you aware, I mean, yeah, you can have copies of it. These are things that came in that staff has to address. We have to address the stones removed from Pebble Beach. I don't know what else we can do, but we got to figure something out. The pedestrian walkway, we've talked about before. I don't know if you want that back on the agenda. And then the other one is a complaint, which has resulted in us actually creating a letter, and I'm in the process of drafting a citation. on that
Sure.
one.
Okay,
What's the complaint?
could you just
What's
forward
the
the
complaint?
correspondence to us so that we
Yeah.
can take a look at it and then, we don't, because you haven't forwarded to us yet, right?
No, and I normally wouldn't, but I can if you want.
What's the complaint that you find?
It says, what does the complaint say?
Well, I'm just wondering what kind of complaint we find someone for.
So, interestingly enough, the code does not have a decibel limit in the park outside of the movie night. So, we can't go for that, but there is a section in the code which talks about nuisances. If they are, offensive or annoy or disrupt the public. There's also one that talks about an event that results in gathering on the sidewalk, which can disrupt.
So this is a fine related to the incident that the woman was just talking about.
No, this happened a week after that,
Same person?
same person.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we can send us that, that'd be great. Okay, so that's it for that. Okay, nobody else from the audience and, all right. Okay, up next, discussion and action items. That the first would be 6A, which is an operating agreement, the operating agreement, Friends of the Ice Rink, TKH Ice Rink. Take it away.
So we, as you know, we've been working on the ice rink operating agreement and went back and forth. Miles wrote back, said he had now, he and his attorney had approved everything. Our attorney came back with one little change just to the insurance portion of it, which I forwarded to Miles. This, in my understanding, he's okay with it. So this is ready to go on to the board if the board is okay with it, if the committee's okay with it.
So Miles, do you have any questions or anything, or you want to add, or?
I don't have any questions or anything other than what we've gone back and forth here, so we're happy with it as it sits right now.
Does anyone have any questions about?
What's the current amount in the village budget for the ice rink? I know we kind of talked about it a few times, but the numbers were never very clear.
52,000, or it's around 50,000. That's where we got that number from, is we looked at like the most we've spent in the last couple of years, and it was about 52,000.
And under this agreement, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm trying to read through and understand it. The village doesn't have to pay in excess of the 50,000 like, we get reimbursed for anything beyond that.
Right, so
If
we,
it exceeds those costs,
correct, so we would do, we pay up to 50,000.
which
and
is our
then
standard
2,000
budgeted amount that we've been doing for
Right,
the recent past.
right, we're always around there. Normally, I think it's, don't quote me, like 47, 48,000,
Yeah,
so
in-
this
in
was
the ballpark.
50,000. And then, so it'd be 50,000 plus 2,000, I think it says, for concessions.
Sorry, that was my
Mm-hmm.
next question. Is that in excess of or included in excess of?
In addition,
Okay.
so it'd be 52,000 total.
So then kind of overall, it's the village budget's the same amount that we normally do, and the ice rink committee takes care of it kind of the way they have, but now with the lease are empowered to upgrade the rink, coils, expand, et cetera.
Right, if they want to have somebody there more often, or have it cleaned more often, or do something other than the way we're normally operating it, they would just pay that additional amount at the end of, or when we film it, yeah, by the date specified in the
Mhm.
contract.
Okay, anybody else have any questions about this?
I do.
Okay.
Well, under recitals, why do we say is to provide the public a recreated ice rink, a recreated ice rink, operator recreating the ice rink? Why are we choosing that word?
We can use any word we want. It's, I guess, I don't know what else you would call, it's not a new ice rink, because we, I
It
think
is
that,
gonna be a new ice rink.
but I think that implies there's another ice rink out there. I mean, we can use whatever term we want. To me, when it says new rink, it sounds like you're adding another rink. So I wanted to make it very clear that they were reconstructing or recreating the ice rink that is there.
And then under, I hadn't thought about this until we actually put in the $50,000 amount, and why we break it out between the 50,000 and the 2,000 is kind of ridiculous to me. It should just be 52,000. But if this agreement is for 10 years, I'm a little surprised that there's not an inflation value in here. And why the ice rink, who knows what's gonna be going on 10 years from now, that nobody, they wouldn't want something in there. Because
Yeah.
nothing's going to stay stagnant for the next 10 years. If it was a 1-year contract, it wouldn't be, or operating agreement, it wouldn't be a big deal. But it's for 10 years.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you on that. It's, I believe from looking at the budget, it's the highest we've ever had. I mean, I don't think it has exceeded that amount. There could be something in there for inflation if we want. I know we operate usually at 0% increases out there. So I know in our, like the Parks Department, we don't account for inflation and increase it so much a year. So to me, this is a function of the parks area. So being consistent with that, it's just kept the same. So
So you think we should add something, because
Well,
certainly it's gonna get more expensive
Well, they're
I
paying
mean-
for the expenses, right?
over and above the 50.
Right. Yep. I mean, we
I mean,
had,
electricity's not getting cheaper.
but they are going to be more efficient, and I would hope that would not use as much electricity as we currently
The coils,
No, it'll use more electricity than currently, just because we'll have the refrigeration system. So yeah, if we wanted to work something in for inflation, I'd certainly be open to discussing that if that's something the village would be willing to discuss.
I know, I'm kind of, it benefits you more than it benefits the village, but I just thought, in a 10-year contract, something just doesn't stay flat for 10 years.
Because it's likely, Miles, I think the biggest expense will be utilities.
Yes. Yeah, our estimates would say that would be the biggest expense, yes.
And if there's a rush to push this through, or if it needs to be renegotiated in the future, once it's up and running and you see what's going on. I mean, certainly we could do it also at that time, correct?
The contract does say that it can be, upon agreement of both parties, you can open that up.
Once
Just
we
to
have
make,
some actuals.
Right,
just to let you know too, this does have to be adopted by the board by September 1st
Okay.
per the lease agreement.
okay.
We could make a change, and then when it goes to the board, that change can be reflected in the board, so we don't have to bring it back to Parks to have it on there.
But I wouldn't, without a longer discussion and some, me sitting down with my calculator and coming up with numbers or something like that, I would not feel comfortable just with something off the top of my head. I just wanted to bring it up, so as long as Miles is aware of that or whatever, and keep that in mind, depending upon what happens, I think it's something that could be addressed in the future then.
I know the first version that we did have from Miles, it didn't have a built-in increase. It was just a flat amount. That's why we looked at where are we at in the budget, what do we normally spend. As far as why is the concession separated out of there? It doesn't have to be, concessions are a taxable item, so we kind of pulled that out because it's the one taxable thing that's in there. And the other thing was, we didn't want to, leave them no money for concessions. So make sure there is money set aside for concessions, but we can word that however we want. If we want to just say it's 52,000, it's 52,000.
Well, I also think too, then we could address that in the future without changing it.
Yeah.
It just seemed odd.
Didn't we say that our expense would be capped and that the Friends of the Ice Rink organization would be responsible for incremental expenses?
That's what it says.
That's what
And
it
they
says.
have not, they've not used power in the past. My assumption in reading that is that they would be responsible for the utility expenses.
They would be responsible for anything above
The 52,000, what was in our run rate.
Mhm.
That's the way I read it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you read it right. That's
So
right.
I'm not sure, I mean, we had lots of time to look at this and talk about it. I thought we were gonna finally approve this thing today. Now we're kind of bringing a new issue up that I did think we covered once before. But maybe we didn't.
We've never talked about inflation.
I don't think we ever talked about an inflationary, some sort of language for inflation as it relates to whatever it is, and in this case, utilities. But I think that what Denise is suggesting is that we go ahead and approve that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but, and Denise and Nate, we approve it, it goes to the board. So, because that's what we were recommending, it goes to the board, and then there could be a discussion at the board. And then in the meanwhile, just alerting Miles and the group, Miles, you know this, and you've got a model that you can look at from what Nina, so you know what, I mean, she can tell you kind of what that looks like for them, and not easy, not hard probably to figure out what utilities are gonna be. And then. the
Or in
recourse-
2 or 3 years after
Yeah.
it's built,
Or come back again,
it
yeah,
just come back and the
Yeah,
board
and come
doesn't.
back with actuals.
Right.
that's what we, that's exactly what we said.
This is what electricity was when we started, this is what it
Yep.
is
Here's
now.
how donations and whatever are going, and we just, I would hope, it doesn't seem to be outlined in here unless I missed a subsection. But I would hope that Miles and the committee would come back to us periodically just to tell us how it's going, give updates.
I think we asked for that too, didn't we?
That, I don't
In
think we
the-
have discussed this one in that detail,
Yeah,
but
I
there
don't
is.
know if we have to have it in a legal agreement, but,
But quarterly,
well,
I
I don't know.
think-
Limited some
At the end of the
regular
season.
update,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's in there for the in the lease agreement is like a preseason and a postseason
Okay.
appointment. I mean, I could bore you guys to death. I'd talk about the ice rink every month if you want, but we're happy to update and check on stuff. And as you mentioned with the utilities, yeah, I mean, it's a public good. We're not a private company out to make money here. We want to work with the village and create the best possible venue for the community. So obviously coming back and working with the board and the Parks Committee is the whole idea. So thank you.
No, last year we talked about researching a park and rec district so that the people that live in Sister Bay weren't bearing the expense of the ice rink and everybody that's using is contributing to that. So that might be something to continue to look into to share that cost. So it doesn't just fall on the Sister Bay taxpayer.
Sure.
Okay.
And yeah, go ahead.
Do I have a motion to make a recommendation, right, to the village, recommend this to the board, refer it to the board, recommend it to the board?
Recommended.
Yeah, to recommend to the village board the operational agreement between the Village of Sister Bay and the Friends of the Sister Bay Ice Rink.
Can I just ask a question? I apologize. So we're making a recommendation to the board that they review and approve this, but we're noting that they should consider an inflation rider on the utilities number or?
No, this is just this,
We're
just
recommending
this
this.
contract.
I
Okay,
asked
just
for a
this
motion
contract.
to recommend this contract.
And if there needs to be an adjustment in the future, there's language in there that says that both parties come back
Okay.
together.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a second? Or do I have a first? Can somebody
I
make a motion?
make that motion.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yep. See you soon, Miles. Okay, next up is the operating, 6B, operating agreement, Sister Bay Advancement Association's annual agreement.
So we receive this annually. This is our contract for services from SBAA. You can see the changes in red. Really basically changing the year and just some minor changes to the festival event schedule.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Can I just add one more thing? And then today, Ellie did send me,
Oh, yes.
he had asked also for, or apparently we had asked for some Fall Fest parade rules and regulations quite a while ago. And she did send that to us as well, so she does have that, that she submitted with that. So she did do what we asked.
Just that one took a while to get back from the lawyers, so we just got it back and then, wanted to make sure you guys had the copy of it.
Should we put that on next month's agenda? Is it something we need to look at as a committee, or what are you recommending?
No, I mean, these are, we could,
I'm not suggesting it, I just.
yeah, I don't,
Why don't
It's
you
an
just forward it to us?
Yeah, just send it to us.
So when it was asking,
But you have
to
this,
take a look to see.
I do,
I'll send it to
I do with the others. Okay, thanks for that. Ron, any comments?
Okay. Did that motion already, did we vote on
I
that?
don't even
motion?
know. Denise made the motion, I
motion and a
seconded,
second.
I seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved,
Thank you
okay,
all.
yep, thank you. Okay, top of the thumb snowmobile,
okay, so top of this, Snowmobile Club annually has us review their route. I know we always want a better, more clear map. Pete Olson is here to share the map with us. Basically what they're looking for, I think the big change is, since we have not done anything with Wiltie, they are hoping that they can cut across Wiltie like they used to get down by the ice rink and then downtown. So Pete, maybe you wanted to share a little more information about the map?
Yeah, if we were to, people like Bobby City asked me, Pete, is there any way we can get the kids back down to the ice rink? And I said, well, I'm gonna look into that. We could use part of the existing trail that used to be there and circle back north of the sewer plant and come across the Frisbee golf field and head over to the ice rink. Now, one of the things that we're concerned about, I'm sure you folks are as well, is safety for the kids. And we have orange netting we can put out there to bring them in to the ice rink to mix, so they miss those big pieces of riprap out there and sign it real well. Last year, the county puts out a snowmobile trail map that's all inclusive from north to south. And in there's a lot of advertising, people, supporting the snowmobile clubs. Last year, we had 16 businesses located in the village proper that supported our club. Some of them are on the trail and others aren't. People like Lars Johnson, he'd love to be able to have people be able to come at least down to the fire station, preferably up to, you know, a little further up Mill Road, but you know, if they want to get something to eat or drink, they have an opportunity to do that. On the trail, it's pretty limited, other than AC Tap. There's not too many. Ron's place isn't too far away, but he's not open for breakfast. You know, we can utilize the trail as best we can. And one thing I forgot to say, we appreciate being able to use the property. We really do, because we have such a short season that when there is snow, at least let the kids, let people go out and ride safely.
So I have a quick question. I'm looking at the map and there's part of the trail has black hash marks through it. Is that, you're not using that or you are?
We're not, you know, last year we got permission from the Swenson family, not Roger and the boys. I mean, Dan died, but Roger's second wife, Carol, gave us permission. That property is adjacent to the hill property.
Yeah.
It was doable, but when you get crossing Scandia Road, it got a little dicey. So we're hoping to put the trail back to where it was, except for coming down past the obviously we can't come down past the sewer plant because your new building is there, but we can go around to the south side of that and come through safely. There's no trees to cut. It's just, that's the trail where it was.
So you wouldn't use the section of this that has the hash marks through it?
I don't have that map. I have a different one.
You want me to show it to you?
Pete,
There you
it's
go.
the area that you
Here it's
used,
at.
the area you used
Oh,
last
yeah,
year.
we're not gonna use that.
All right, okay, that was my question. Okay. And so it ends at, this particular one ends at Scandia Road, and then I guess maybe it keeps going, but that's Liberty Grove, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any comments? I don't really have a problem with this.
So I guess I just want to say that I think it's reasonable to use it right now. At some point, this won't be available. And I think it's important to say that to you now so that, you know, 2, 5, 10 years from now, you realize that.
Well, yeah, and I'll go a little farther. I mean, most of the guys in the club that do the work, I'm 69 and I'm one of the younger guys. You know, and we've all had back surgeries, hip replacement, knee replacements. You know, we understand that, and as more and more property gets sold, even though the state of Wisconsin has a whole harmless statute for property owners, if somebody were to get hurt, you know, the first thing you want to do is shut us down before they even get to hear that. But we understand that it's limited, and you know, it's probably been about 8 years since we had good snow. But I'll tell you what, the kids they're ready to roll. They're looking at the weather forecast, and when we get it, we don't want them running down Woodcrest Road to get to the ice rink, and some will do that.
Yeah,
Just to
dangerous.
get there.
Okay, I will move
And one
to,
other thing, I understand Julie mentioned that you're gonna have some sludge ponds or something going in there. I can't remember what it was, Julie.
We don't know that. We have to we're looking at whether we need sludge ponds or dryer, what we're gonna do that may affect the
But see,
property in the
we can
future.
also take the old trail even further south and avoid all that and come in, unless you're gonna get rid of the Frisbee Golf Field, we can come through there very safely. And like I say, we've got orange netting that it's pretty obvious when you get up to the parking lot that you're going through that orange netting where that chain link or that chain is across it right now.
okay, do I have a motion to approve the Top of the Thumb Snowmobile Club's route for winter 2025 and 6, I guess?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good, let's pray for snow.
Thank you very much for your time, everybody.
You bet. Okay, up next is 6D, Northern Grilling Pub, no parking request, Ron McDonald.
Okay, so you have the staff report in the file. There's really, it's pretty self-explanatory. They would like no parking on the west side of Country Walk Drive in front of their property. They did mark it. Unfortunately, it is in a right of way, so we can't allow their signs to remain there. And staff did explain to the McDonald's, the only way to have no parking there would be to have it approved by the committee. So, Mr. McDonald is here to put in a request for no parking, explain why he thinks there should be no parking there.
Okay.
Sorry, Lisa had to leave, the restaurant open. Obviously that, you know, I kind of disagree with the fact that she said that it was in the right of way, because it's actually on my property. This is where I put the signs. It may look like it's in the right of way because of the fact that there's a pedestrian path on that side of the street. You can see the line in the picture set sheet, took, or whoever took. And it's actually in my yard where I have the signs. But it looks like a shoulder or something because so many people have been parking on that pedestrian pathway that they've worn my grass down. And it looks like a shoulder, but it's not. My grass used to go right up to the road until they put that pedestrian path in, which I was happy with, even though I was not happy because they took out the sidewalks that they were going to put up there. They were actually gonna have a curb and gutter and sidewalks, but because of budget or whatever reasons, they put in this pedestrian path, which I didn't complain about. I just lived with, and that was good. I was glad there was a path at least for the daycare and the people who be walking on in the neighborhood down to the Piggly Wiggly and whatnot. And so people have been parking on my grass, you know. So I put signs on my grass to keep people from parking on my grass. It isn't that I'm trying to control the road. That's something you guys are supposed to be doing, but nobody's putting no parking signs up there on the pedestrian path. So it's really a pathway that isn't finished. Almost everywhere else we have those signs, the no parking anytime signs, you know, which should be up there, but they just never got up. I kind of figured they would eventually, because I thought the town would get frustrated by the danger of it and put the signs up, and nobody ever did. So to protect my grass, basically, I put up these, finally, I just put up these signs, you know, no parking on my grass. And immediately I got a letter, like 2 days after, you know. I mean, people have been parking on the road there for, you know, since they put that pedestrian path in, on the pedestrian path, and nobody's once done anything about it. And now I put up no parking on my grass signs, and I get a letter immediately. So I don't know what the motive is here, that do people want the cars parking? Do you guys want cars parking on that pedestrian path?
No,
Yeah, I would think so.
I guess,
I kind of figured you'd put signs up eventually, honestly. I just thought they'd come with time because of danger. You know, I have pictures of kids walking from the daycare, parents pushing their kids in their strollers to daycare. You know, I have a bunch of information here, cars parked on way on my lawn. I have videos of people cranking U-turns on my grass there. You know, and I maintain that. The town's never once cut it or maintained it at all. I do all the maintenance of it. So I'm just tired of it, you know, and something needs to be done, so.
okay,
And
Pedestrian
you know, this
path.
guy that was here earlier,
Mike,
Julio, is that his last name?
yes.
Boy, you'd have thought I brought him here. I didn't. He had a lot of the same complaints. Anyway, I'm sorry.
So that pedestrian path, I think it's the de facto pedestrian path. I don't think it was intentionally put there. People are walking there because
No,
that's
no.
the only place they can
No,
go.
no, that was put there as
I mean,
a
that-
pedestrian path in a substitution for what was supposed to be a sidewalk. The original plans called for sidewalks, curb and gutter, everything. They changed it, budget, I don't know, they had to build something downtown probably, but
I guess what I'm saying is, that may be being used as a pedestrian path, and I wish there was sidewalk there. I absolutely do, and I think it's
it's
quite
not on both
unsafe.
sides of the street
Yeah, so
because it's a pedestrian path.
I-
And it's intended for people to walk against the traffic,
I think what
which
it
is the
really
laws
is
I have in here.
it's a wide shoulder that is,
No,
was it,
it's not. I disagree with you. It was
When
put
was
in,
that put
it was
in?
put in to satisfy the absence of the sidewalk that was supposed to be put in.
Do you
That was
know
supposed to
about
keep
the,
people happy.
the timeframe for that?
When they built the road, you guys have all that. you know.
So a couple of years ago, this committee
I didn't
discussed,
know I was gonna have to be an attorney here.
a couple years
Just
ago, this
curious.
committee discussed future trails and paths and stuff, and we decided that at some point, we were very clear that at some point we should have a sidewalk on that side of Country Walk. So we didn't view that as the replacement, we just said, we need to have a sidewalk there.
This is
someday.
20 years ago.
No,
Right,
that road wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't?
No, not close.
On the picture here, the white line, is that an accurate description of the property line?
fairly close, so.
No, but it's not. I have my,
So the way it is with GIS is, it's not exact, but there's gonna be a reference point. What's interesting on Mr. McDonald's lot and the lot to the south is, their lot line actually extends into the right of way. And Sister Bay, in many places, your lot goes up to the right of way or maybe to the center line of the road. You don't have that consistency in Sister Bay like you do some other communities. So you can see 2 lots south where that lot goes up to the right of way. And then to the north of Mr. McDonald, it goes up to the right of way. But Mr. McDonald's and the lot to the south, actually, their property line actually extends into the public right of way.
So I get
it was
this.
actually the other way around, though. The public right of way came onto my property.
Well, I have the
Correct.
same situation in my Bailey's Harbor property, but I still have to acquiesce the right of way or the easement to the village, even though Oak Birch Road is on my property.
Right.
I've never
So-
complained about it.
No, I know. Look, I'm not against what you're asking for here. My biggest concern is if we do this here, how are we gonna make future decisions and make sure we're consistent? Right? Because in terms of,
I think it is pretty consistent, though.
well, I think the debate here is what's your land versus what's the right of or the easement that the community has access to.
I guess.
Your lot line just because your lot line goes further doesn't mean that we still don't have an easement on that land. I just explained in Birch Road, the whole road is on my property. They can still come 10 feet, they can come, I can't remember how many feet off the center line and do whatever they want with that.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying. That's the way
Is
I
there a
understand.
is there a public pathway there?
There's
'Cause I think
public
you're talking about
access.
two different things.
There's
You're
public
saying you want
access.
Consistent.
There's public access, yes.
There's a pathway?
Well, yeah, that's the second part of this that's a little
Well, that's
dicey,
a big
right?
thing.
Well, but if you're right, if you're
You
accurate.
got people walking in a path and cars parking there, and then they have to walk out on
Yes,
the road around these cars.
there's an edge of the road that people walk on there, yes, just like yours.
See,
And now we can debate the semantics.
exactly, we can debate that, and I don't think it's semantics, I think it's an actual thing that was done to a piece, and that's the reason why it's not on both sides of the road.
Do you have any documentation on this you can share with us?
I didn't realize.
I mean, that would
have to have
help.
an attorney.
No, I don't mean you have to,
No,
but I'm just saying, how do we, I
I
don't
thought
know
you'd be
that.
reasonable on the danger part of it.
I am, that's the part where you got me. That's the
Ron,
part where you got me.
Ron, just sit tight. Just
Ron,
sit
that's
tight.
where you
I'll
got
just
me.
be an attorney to
That's
deal
where you
with this.
got
I
me.
didn't wanna do that.
Mike and Ron, just sit tight for a minute. I have a question. So do we have history with plan? I remember talking about the fact that we'd really like, to have a sidewalk here and to do something here. We would, just so you know that.
I do
Okay?
know that.
I know. And it's a commercial district and there's a lot of property, and what the other Mike said earlier is, that's all true. And nobody wants anybody to get hurt. So, because by the way, people park across the street from you adjacent to the pig
But they've added parking there.
because,
That's different.
right, but
And there's no sidewalk there.
they, like, 2 seconds away from the parking lot at the pig, by the way. Can't pull into the parking lot.
But they actually
But
added more
anyway.
gravel there for people to park there.
Yeah,
The
but
pig did.
so my question is, there's no official pathway, right? There doesn't, like, if you're a human being and you're walking down Country Lane towards 42 on that side, that's like you naturally, your brain would say, okay, like, I gotta walk this way. Your point is, if they're walking that way, there's a good possibility they could be walking into a car, which means you have to go around the car on their way to get to 42 with a stroller or not. Your other point is, you're on my grass.
Well, that's just something that just keeps getting bigger. And now they're actually parking on my grass and not on the public pathway. They're parking past the public pathway on my grass.
Mhm.
So my shoulder, what isn't a shoulder, And you can look at that up if you want, and it's becoming a shoulder, you know, there is no shoulder there.
So my other question is, does anybody ever park at the lot north of you?
No. That's why the grass goes up to the,
Because it's not convenient and they're going to the pig?
no,
and
because
it's
grass,
closer?
that's why the grass goes right up to the road.
Because it's closer.
On
And
the
the other
same
one,
with the one,
well, the other one is the other one is the gas station. So the one south of you, nobody parks there either. There's
On either
some
side.
shrubbery. There's
now
not
they're
enough
starting
room.
to though, because I put those no parking signs up. Now they're parking there.
Okay. So my other question then is, and Denise, you would know this better than anyone. At one point or another, I suppose this is ours, we can put no parking signs up anywhere we want, right? So the question would be whether, did we ever consider that? Is it something we want to do? Is it something that I don't know. I really don't know the history of it, or if it's from a safety standpoint, a good idea.
If you bear with me a moment, I will get to answering your question.
Okay.
Okay. So I think no parking signs are appropriate. Bigger picture. Who allowed the pig to add additional gravel to put parking up there, whether or not it's in the right of way or not?
Well, Ron said,
So I don't know this.
and I didn't know that they did that, by the way.
So I think
Or that
that
they
needs
were
to be
allowed to do
investigated.
that.
Thought it was a pig, maybe the town did it.
The town did not.
Okay. I think it was a pig.
So my suggestion would be, from what Ron is pointing out, from what I have been talking about, what Mike DiUlio was reiterating on the traffic, pedestrian and vehicular on Country Walk, that we line the whole entire road of no parking,
Both sides.
both sides.
I have
You
no
know, there's a
problem.
lot, can I talk? Am I-
She's the chair.
Well, let's just talk them on the committee first, and then you can add, I promise, okay? I personally don't have a problem with that.
Neither do I. The only thing I would add is if we have the issue with the speed limit for the school zone in the same area, should we be taking care of all of this at the same time?
We probably should, but I also don't know, now we're kind of getting into a third lane. If what needs to happen for something to be a school zone? So that, I don't
know.
disagree, because that's a flashing light, that's school zone, I think that, which is fine, it's fine.
We need to talk to the DOT.
Yeah, we need to talk to the DOT, because it's our road.
Yeah, but they have to
Okay,
agree.
so
with
that's
us.
that
We don't
part.
have to make- I just looked that up after the question came up, so.
So you're
So-
driving down Country Lane right now and you see no parking on both sides. I don't know how far apart parking signs have to be, but that's what it's gonna look like, so,
Like Scandia,
so, anybody got a
Like
problem with that?
Maple.
No, could we also add caution children?
Well, I think we should
That'd be great.
ask Julie, I'm sorry, to contact the DOT. And even if we can't have a flashing sign, if we would still be allowed just a school sign.
Sure, I think, and I'm gonna defer that to Eric as the director to follow up on that, because I think we also have to look at the financial impact of this, because this is not budgeted, it is gonna be, that's a lot of signs. It's something that he has not budgeted, it may be something that has to be delayed until 2026, but we'll know more after he gets his number, so maybe we can revisit that next month.
Sure, know
As
how many
far-
signs, how far apart they have to be.
And whether we can have the
you
school
know,
sign.
The DOT.
From
could probably-
somebody who witnesses this pretty much every day of my life, sometimes it doesn't matter how many no parking signs you put up, they still park in between them anyway.
Believe me, I know. I have pictures of it right here. In fact, the city of Sister Bay, truck parked between my no parking signs on my grass. So I got pictures of that. So, and I think that was a big FU to me maybe, but,
I don't think it was, Ron.
well, what would you
Ron,
think it was?
Try to look to your better angels. I don't think it was,
Yeah, I
I
know. I
promise.
just get upset when
so
something
in
so
this-
dangerous becomes like something so common sense.
I know, it
And
defies,
then there's argument
logic.
against common sense.
So in a situation like this, what we will do, what Eric will do is, he'll refer to the, sign there's a guideline, there's a handbook, basically municipalities are supposed to use. And he can use that to determine how many, signs he needs and how far apart they're spaced. That's what he did on Highway 57, so we would do the same thing.
You know, the majority of the people that park there are parking there to run into the pig and get their sandwiches for lunch. And it's a lot of working guys that do that. And I put up with that for so long, but I walk that path every day. I pick up the cigarette butts every single day. And I rake the gravel back onto the, you know, and try to maintain my grass what I can, but you know, there's just too many of them, you know?
Eric, the cost involved in this, is it the materials or is it the labor? To install
Just
signage,
probably a little bit of both.
like
yeah.
50/50?
Yeah,
Might also have to do some locates maybe out there.
it's,
You know?
yeah, it's gonna be
For
both
utilities?
sides. A good reference to
Water.
use would be all the signs that were placed on like South Spring, Scandia, all those no parking signs.
Yep.
I don't know if the DOT is gonna have, or they're gonna care about our roads. If this was along the highway, I could use your, time there as a reference as far as signs. But I could pull a quick reference off of South Spring, how they kind of space those out on there. for
Okay.
Scandia as well.
Okay.
As far
We
as
don't,
these
we don't know
things.
if those were done accurately,
Are those
but
town roads?
hopefully they're,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, those are all. town
That's what I thought when
roads.
you were talking about precedents. I knew about Scandias and I knew about Spring Road.
Just one thing on, it might not be the most pleasing thing to the eye, sticking all these
Well, of
things
course
in my
not.
businesses.
I hate
These are
signs.
gonna be, just, you know, for your reference, Ron, these are going to be in the ditch line, in the grass area.
Well,
These
as
aren't
long as
gonna be right up against the road.
they could be like Scandia, right?
What's that?
Scandia's pretty close to the road.
Yeah, but we have to do is make sure that they're far enough away for the county plows
Right.
to come through. So
Like
there's
Scandia.
not gonna be
Yeah.
like right up against the road or anything like that. So they will probably be in your grass area.
Well, I guess if you can put them as, you know, close to the pathway as possible because.
Yeah, we try to be
The
the
pedestrian
least,
pathway.
the least intrusive, but as you can see, I don't know, you probably haven't seen this picture. What we generally will utilize is the county GIS right away here.
Yeah, from the center line or whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
this is
Okay,
what
so I
this is what
think-
they draw up for us, and this is what we use for our tree cutting.
so maybe
and everything,
Ron and
so
Eric,
we
maybe you
generally
can,
would have-
Ron and Eric, maybe you guys can have that, because we
Yeah.
can't see that.
If you
maybe
wouldn't
can
mind
have
going through that
dialogue.
offline, that'd be great, so you
Sure.
set expectations for yourself.
And I saw
Ron.
that picture already and I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Ron, we appreciate you coming in, and I think it sounds like we have a solution. We would, so what, we take this up next month,
After Eric knows
after we
what's
know we
needed.
have a budget that we know is
And can I,
not a
Still
budget
speak
that
or
we
not?
spend, of course.
okay, I just want to know what I can do then to keep people off my grass. Is
In the
it okay for me
meantime?
to keep my signs on my grass.
They are a violation, because we can't have anything in the right of way, that's.
Signs on my grass. they're
Excuse
not
me,
in-
Ron, just let me finish, okay? That's what actually triggered it is, we had reports, people were concerned about it being in the right of way. Carla went out there and they're basically obstructions in the right of way, which we as a village, of course, are concerned about the liability, and that's why they were ordered removed.
Well,
Now,
if
the
he
committee
puts
wants
them
them
on
there.
his property outside,
In our right of
I
way.
think we have a difference of
Outside
opinion
of
on
the
where,
right-of-way.
on where the
Sure.
right of way is, so you have to put them on your property.
I'm
Ron.
not saying I have not seen them where they currently were. Sorry, avoid the pig at all costs. And this time of year. So I do not know where they were placed. If you were saying they were in the right of way and Ron was saying they were on the grass, if somebody can determine where the right of way ends, and in the meantime, until a determination is made, and he can put up his own signs on his legal property, not in the right of way, I'm okay with that.
I'm fine with that too,
That's what I
but
have.
you guys are gonna have to
But
agree
you're gonna
on
have to
what that
agree.
is.
You're going to have to agree.
Yeah,
Somebody's going to have to measure.
yeah, but, so you are putting them on your property, Ron?
Yeah.
The problem is they're in the public right of way. And that's where the issue comes, because we have liability and safety things, but
Can I ask a question on
But
that?
the
then?
committee, so far the committee is, they don't have a motion yet, but they're leaning towards, I think, saying you can have them as long as they're outside of the
Right.
public's right.
I understand. But now with violations, and I realize we don't have a constable in this town that can write tickets or whatnot. I know they started writing them at the post office, which I think, I'm great, I'm glad, but, there should be somebody writing tickets probably in this village, but, it's, to me, it's kind of weird how I'm a taxpayer here and I'm putting these signs where people are parking every day in violation of these ordinances, and they're not getting any tickets. Yet I put up a sign and right away I get, some, and I'm not saying, I'm happy that you guys are coming to some type of place, but is there any way people that park there then can get a ticket?
So we do have somebody that does give tickets. We have actually different people give tickets. A lot of it is complaint driven. The committee that hired that person, the committee that hired that or authorized that position had wanted more of a hands-on educate people rather than just give them tickets right away.
Yeah.
So we do try that approach, but there are tickets written. We received a couple tickets get paid every week. So there are people, the sheriff also gives tickets on village streets. If people are parked in no parking areas, village no parking areas.
Well, nobody's ever got a ticket there, but the,
Because it's not a no parking area, probably.
exactly, although they are parked in the right of way. And so I can get fined for putting something there, but anybody that doesn't live here can put whatever they want there, is what you're saying. They can put their car there. But I can't
Yes,
put a
because
sign
it's
there.
public,
Yeah.
because it's the public's right of way.
Anyway, so
So
we both kind of disagree on that right away, but because of that pedestrian pathway, I disagree with that, cars parking on that. The other thing, and because they do it down past your place too, a lot, and that's dangerous as can be.
Yeah.
I don't understand why this village is allowed that, honestly, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But there's other things that I've seen, and I've looked around town to see what people do. And I even did it when I had my house downtown here. I put rocks on the edge of my grass because the village trucks would be parking on my grass when they'd stop at the village hall, administration building. And they were wearing down my grass there. I'm like, anyway, there wasn't parking, so the town did put no parking there. They put yellow lines there, but I still see the village trucks parking there on their grass. And it's frustrating because you work hard to try to keep your place nice, and the village should want that, and
Well, I think we're trying to help you. I mean, I just want to make sure.
I
think
see a lot of
the action, I just want to make sure I understand it right. So the action is, per Denise's recommendation, we're gonna investigate the cost and the timeline to implement no parking on both sides of the street. Did I get that right, Denise?
Yeah.
I asked that we consider adding slow children or
Yeah.
slow school signs, depending upon what's allowable, which I think we can still have the debate about the property line, but your problem goes away. Is that, do you feel good about that or not?
I do, except like you said, people are gonna park there anyway, and I do see other things around town that people have done, and I took pictures of it. And I wonder if these are legal or not, because if people still park there, then I might have to do more, and I wanna know what I can do legally.
Okay.
So, like by CHOP, they have all the cones out there. What the heck is that? That's okay?
Yes, the committee approved that.
The committee approved all
No,
those
we
They
cones?
did
didn't, they didn't approve the cones,
We
but they
didn't approve
approved the
cones.
no parking
No.
area.
Yeah, I see that. And I'm gonna be approved for no parking, it sounds like. But people are still gonna park there just like here. And can I put cones out there? Is that
No, as a matter of fact, the cones are a violation and they were reported to us and
enough for a long
reported.
time?
Well, we
They were
were
up.
aware of them for about a week.
Yeah, they were up for 5 days.
They're still up.
Right, because the person who has to respond to that just got back from vacation. 5 days
Patsy and
was,
Jody just got back.
No, it's not
No.
Patsy and
Oh,
Jody.
okay.
Ron, I think
Oh, I
we
thought-
solved everything.
I thought
Okay,
that was their property. Oh,
Ron,
no, it's not. They lease it. That's right.
Ron, I think we solved everything unless there's another topic you want to talk about besides what you came for.
Well,
I
this
think
is what
we-
I came for.
I think we solved your issue. I'm not quite sure. There's other issues in the
I'm
village,
just wondering
correct?
if there's addition that I can do legally, like where Brad or Chad has his rocks out by the road there. Can I do that?
if it's on your property,
No, as long
This
as it's
isn't on
not
his
in a
property.
public right of way.
it can't be in the public right of way. So
Yeah,
what we
this
asked
is,
you to
though.
do was determine the public right of way, and you can determine that with the administration office.
Okay, aside from feeling picked on, why are some people allowed to do this and I can't?
It's very difficult for us to see that photo
Yeah,
from
if
here.
you wanna
It's-
see it,
And it's
I'll
not
show you
an
a bunch of
agenda
them.
item. We haven't done any research on it, Ron. If you wanna
Okay.
submit them as complaints, we can investigate them. But right now, the committee,
If you're
Wants to
reporting
keep
that,
moving
then we
your
can take a
agenda.
look
I
at it.
don't come to these meetings very often. You're probably glad I don't. Yeah.
I don't know, I think you raised a good point, and I think you got an action from the committee that's gonna meet your requirement. That's pretty impressive work.
Well, it won't be my requirements because people will still park there and I don't know what else I can do. And that's what I wanted to find out too. What
Then
else can I do?
then
'Cause I don't necessarily
would-
need no parking signs if I can put rocks up.
I would suggest
Maybe I'd
that,
rather have rocks than a no parking sign.
Go out there and take a picture.
that you
And
go
take-
in and then talk to staff in the office about what can and can't happen. We cannot determine that. There are rules and regulations. Julie certainly would know best. And that's just a conversation that the two of you can have, so you're prepared if the signs go in and then people are still parking there, then you will know exactly what you can do moving forward.
And that would be great if the writing represented what's being done, you know? Like I have a lot of different pictures of people with rocks along the road, right by their, in fact, Christy Sully has rocks along her property, right by your road, right across the street from your place.
Take a photograph of it, submit it to the
I have 'em
administrator.
here.
Well, submit it to the administrator and she'll get a fine. Okay,
What I'm saying is, I doubt she got a letter about it. Some reason I'm getting letters, you know, and I'm just hoping I can do something about people parking on my grass and help to have a less dangerous situation without,
and we are complaint driven, so if you wanna submit those as complaints, we can follow up on them.
all right,
And we wanna help you.
yeah. And I understand that. I'm just frustrated because like you said, Denise, they're still gonna park on my grass and they're still gonna park on the pedestrian pathway. And I would think that would be more concerning to you guys than anything. It's the safety part of it. And now that you know, if you don't do something about it quick, somebody gets hurt, that could be liable on you, you know?
Yeah, that's why we got a great plan, I think.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah.
And if you have the pictures, you can give them to Julie right now.
Oh, the pictures of the other things?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm not doing this to complain, I'm doing this to ask if it's okay for me to do.
well, it's a complaint, so they'll get a
Well, it's
letter
not.
and they'll be
Well,
fine.
no.
But see,
they
that's
won't
not what
get a
I'm
letter
doing.
Because nobody knows if they're in the right of way yet.
I'm
Okay, so
submitting
you're
them,
submitting them now
Okay,
as
we're moving
complaints for us to follow up on.
but to see
You're
if I can
submitting-
do that too.
Okay, submit them, we'll get back to you, we're not gonna do it right now, because that's not on the agenda. If you wanna submit them to
No,
me or
it isn't.
email
That's
them,
true.
To you
I can
right
get
here,
back
I'll just
to
give
Ron.
them to you, I have copies. Here's one.
no, give them to me all at once, we've got
Oh,
other stuff on our
okay.
agenda.
Well, I don't.
There's no road names or anything on them?
You want me to write that on?
Why don't you
'Cause I think
put the
you'll know.
locations on these and then, or I'll just number them 1, 2, 3 and just do it that way, okay? So,
If any of those are things I can do.
no, I can tell you right now.
I know.
I'll get back
I
to you.
already
on
know. Okay. I don't want to complain about other people.
Thanks, Ron.
So
Thank you.
long-term, as part of the pedestrian mobility plan, I thought Country Walk was one of the considerations
For a sidewalk.
for a sidewalk. So what's the current timeline, budget, thought, plan for that?
It's not even, I mean, it's in a plan, but there's no timeline or anything assigned to it. I think there's a lot of other roads that
Mhm.
we feel are higher priority.
But it is on a list to
Yeah.
do someday.
Been on and off for a long time.
Sadly, when it came up in February of 23 at Plan Commission, and they redid, I think it was February 22, maybe, it was winter of 22 or 23. The Plan Commission said, okay, we want the sidewalk connecting in the parking lot, which that, you can't walk on that sidewalk and stand up because there's trees growing over it, they plow onto it. But it was decided that we did not want the Plan Commission decided not to ask for a sidewalk along behind the Piggly Wiggly, because that's not where we want people to walk. And I think that kind of misses the point. People walk, we need to put the infrastructure where people are walking, not decide where people are, where we want them to walk.
And since
But it
there's
is
been
on the
more
list as a
development,
thing to potentially
is.
address someday as we work through it.
And when the previous gentleman, Mike, was talking about the potential to list that as a school zone and reduce the speed limit to 10 or 15, whatever you do, is that because of the daycare? Is that what he's?
yeah,
Are
he's
you-
referring to the daycare.
We're probably stepping off an agenda item.
Okay, I'm
Be a little
sorry.
bit,
I'm
a little
sorry.
bit mindful of that, but it's probably
Yeah, yeah,
something
I'm
we should
sorry.
discuss.
But he
Okay.
thought it might be legit because of the Northern Door chapter, right? Okay, we
And
are
from
on,
a random note, while we were talking, I looked at historical pictures and that striping for the shoulder has been there since at least 2013, so it has been a long time since that's been there.
What you mean by in front of his plates?
Yeah, the shoulder being striped and what he was referring to as a
Striping on
pedestrian
the shoulder
walk path.
for
It looks like a standard stripe shoulder. And that's been there since at least 2013. That's as far back as I can find a picture.
I don't think there's a motion, is there?
No.
It's just a
asking
future agenda
Eric
action.
to,
There'll be a future, an item
compile
for
the
the
information and
future agenda.
costs.
For no parking on Country Walk
And bring
from
it back
42 to
next month.
57.
Parking slots on both sides of the street.
We'll say this, it's gonna be an uphill battle stopping. You know, the high vis people that stop there to get lunch from parking across that street, they're just a sign. They're gonna park there regardless.
Any other ideas?
Well, then.
Why can't they park in the parking lot?
I
Because
think
they're
it's because
lazy.
it's too packed and it's an in and out.
It's not too packed,
quick
they've been there all the
access
time, it's
for
not
them.
that packed.
I will say I've seen it where there's plenty of parking
There's
spaces.
plenty of
It's
parking.
just
You might have to
making it
walk an
easier
extra
to
30
drive off
seconds.
the
Yeah,
side
I
and
think
pull in.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I would suggest that you tell your guys not to park there.
I like how he's calling my guys. You always
Well,
look at
it's a
our
village
shop.
truck. I'm just kidding.
There are trucks that aren't.
I'm
Like our
kidding.
village trucks, like my guys?
I'm kidding, although it's actually kind of funny, because everybody thinks that it's tourists, and I don't think it is. It's locals.
No,
Sorry.
it's just a quick in and out there.
It's a quick
And
in
I don't
in
know
and
if
out
the
if
big
you're in the
added
parking
gravel
lot,
there
for
or
heaven's
not, I
sake.
think they just widen those gravel patches there on their side.
Guys,
I think that's what.
we're gonna keep moving.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of widening, this is perfect, nice segue. 6E, current administration building and impact on current road construction project, I'm sorry.
Okay, so Robert Ely is finalizing the plan, the schematic of the new road. They are hoping to have it to you by your first meeting in September. We're scheduling a public informational session right after the committee meets, like within a few days, to keep this project moving along. But I've brought this up before, but we need to talk about what happens to the public or the administration building. I know, Denise, I think you were the one who said, leave it up to the engineer if removal of the building makes sense for a safer intersection, that's what we need to do.
Well, right, I mean, that's my opinion, that's a horrible intersection. That this is our one opportunity to improve the roadway, pedestrian access that's safer. So it's not that the building should be raised or not raised. Just draw the plan that is the safest, that is the best, and we'll see what's left and how much of the admin building property it encompasses. I'm not worried about whether the building stays or goes, just let them utilize what they, the property as they deem fit.
Design the road to accommodate the cars and pedestrians
Correct.
it needs to, and
Because
make
it's-
accommodations.
Right,
for them.
because this is not important.
And the design will have, because I'm sorry, I'm not sure I know, but maybe we're waiting to see what he designs or the engineer designs, but they would design a sidewalk on either the north or south side of,
It's our hope, that
Left
doesn't
side.
mean it will happen because it's so narrow.
okay. But at least one side, we think.
I don't
Oh.
think anything.
But we
I'm not
ideally,
thinking anything.
okay, but ideally, we would have a sidewalk. My other question is, are they gonna, I don't know if we made this request at all, but that's pretty steep as you come down the latter part of it. Are they gonna make that I don't know how else to say it, less steep, or that's not part of it?
I'm sure they're gonna look at engineering, what would serve as an accessible sidewalk, they're not gonna have it too steep, they wanna make sure it can
But even
be-
the road, because when you come down there, it's still gonna come into Maple.
They might have to build some of it up. I
Or
agree,
cut some of it down.
right, I agree with Denise that we should just tell them do what makes sense, and if that means the building comes down, the building comes down. I think we have to think about safety first on the road.
Mhm.
But I
It's
can't
on the
make that
road to meet the
decision.
needs of the road, Robert E. Lee will
And
tell us that.
pedestrians, though, it would be
We
really
follow it.
great to get people to be able to safely walk down that way. I know it's not, I know the road is more important, but, okay.
So I wholeheartedly disagree. I think we're abdicating our role, saying, hey, engineers, do what you think is best. I think that we need to give them some parameters that say, this is what we want. I really don't think that Bluffside, an intersection there that's gonna connect Bluffside, is gonna inherently make Bluffside safer. This is another case where we widen, we make it bigger, we induce demand on there, that's gonna become a cutoff. You'll have more traffic going down there if you do something. It's a narrow road that people are going relatively slow on,
You're right.
and it's
Yeah.
steep, which makes people go relatively
They might
slow.
not be able to widen it at all because of right of ways,
So
because everything is.
I think
is
that's what
pretty
Nate's
that's
level.
what I'm
saying is
saying, is
maybe
let's
you-
give them, I
Yeah.
don't think that we want it. I don't think that we should widen that road. I don't think that making that wider is going to make it any safer. I think it's actually gonna make it more dangerous. If you make that more optimal for vehicular traffic,
More of a choice.
you're gonna have more people go through it. Induced demand absolutely is a thing when designing streets and highways.
Because I
And
mean,
I-
even me, if I have a choice,
it has
when I'm
to-
going north, I take Maple.
But it has to meet a minimum standard, and I'm sure it doesn't.
The road has been there for how long and it's utilized? I mean,
I
Yeah,
know,
but she's
but
talking
it,
about minimum standards now.
a minimum standard.
I don't know
So
what
I
those
don't
are.
know what that is. I don't know how wide the road is. I am not, are we gonna have 20-foot wide lanes? Probably not. And
What
I,
determines that? Engineer basically can go to the state and say, hey, look, we're redoing this, or I don't even know if you have to go to the state, but
No.
we're redoing it, but hey, we can't go any wider than this, but
They look at what's out there, the infrastructure, the landmarks that are out there. I'm guessing on something like this, they're gonna be more focused on the skinny streets movement to keep it as narrow as possible. I don't think they'd go as wide as possible, Nate, but I don't know. We could let them know that's a concern of ours, that we don't want it wide. There's just no room to make
but I
it wide.
think there also has to be a minimum.
So Denise, is the Mill Road update, does
maybe
that meet the
minimums are
minimum
gonna have-
requirements? Because that's pretty narrow. The Mill Road,
west or east?
Mill Road behind Kadenko's house. Because then you got Maple Drive and you got Bluffside. Those roads from the overhead GIS, it looks like those roads are actually wider than the new road. So I mean,
I think you're
we
gonna
might
s-
have enough room to do a Mill Road update in this area without making the road any wider.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're gonna see probably a minimum of a 9-foot travel lane is what I'm guessing.
And Julie, do you know, is that what we did when we updated Mill Road last
I
year?
don't remember how wide it is now.
Well, we also don't have sidewalks there.
Was that an ask as part of the contract with Robert E. Lee sidewalks?
I would like, tell them that we would love to have sidewalks
Or
on
is
at
that
least
not-
one
Well,
side.
told them no sidewalk.
we have the concrete, I don't know what we call it then, if that's not a sidewalk on this side, so we wrap the corner.
Sure, Mike's referring to where we wrap the corner to go down, is that Parkview?
Maple,
Yeah, and that was in anticipation of this project we're in right now, so they could tie together.
I'm just saying, Nate, it seems like you could do both. You know, put a new road in and keep it within the parameters of the current width and meet Denise's standard of whatever's contemporary, if what we did on Mill Road was contemporary.
so then maybe we come back to say our preference is a narrower road and we'd like to save the building, because I don't think we should tear down that building, but if you've got to do it according to your standards, these are our preferences, try and work around that. Does that
The
make sense?
building's not worth saving, so I don't really care. I would never, that piece of crap that we ask people to work out of, I'm not saying that we have to tear it down. But it all depends on what the board decides to do with what's ever left of that parcel. Does the village want to do something with it? Or do we just sell it to one of the neighbors and they can increase their space? I don't know what the answer is, because that's a future conversation for the entire board.
Is that something we would make a recommendation to as parks, roads, property, streets, whatever our title is? Or would that just be a board discussion?
Probably would start here.
But Julie's asking us for something to take to the engineer, which is fair. And it sounds like, the current width. I understand what Nate's saying, which is if you make it wider, more people will travel on it, and that might make it more dangerous, and I do get that. I think fewer
But I
people
mean,
use it for that reason.
Everything's so close already.
Yeah. Yeah.
The back, the entrance of the church, which is the back of Lure, and the steps coming out.
Everything,
You
yeah.
have,
Their dumpster, their garage, everything, yeah.
Because it's
Right,
all
the
old and
houses.
pre-existing,
right,
which is
Right.
what people really like, is they
So
like
that's
these old
what I'm saying,
pre-existing
there's-
areas.
there's no way you could get a really wide street in there anyway.
Okay, so street stays the same, sidewalks if you
A
can.
minimum
doesn't sound like
standard.
it. Yeah, minimum standard.
Whose minimum standard are we saying?
don't
I
know.
think that, doesn't the village in our code specify that, Julie?
Yeah, it refers to, for something like that, it refers to an engineering manual, which is basically what the engineers use anyway. So they're gonna design it, if we say, look, we want it as safe as possible, but we also do not want wide roads, can you keep it as minimal as possible? They would do that. They would, instead of having the luxury of maybe a 12-foot lane, they're gonna keep it as minimal as possible.
Okay.
We don't know, it might come back with one-way streets or two. I have no idea yet.
And so if we don't have
Just throw
sidewalks,
it
That's a
out
third
there.
rail, that's a good idea, Julie, but it will never go.
and even if we don't have sidewalks, we'll have new gutters. Sorry, new curbs.
Curb and
gutter.
gutter, curb and gutter.
Because we barely have that now.
You may get a sidewalk, but it might be a very narrow
Okay,
sidewalk,
but
not what we usually.
For sure, new curb and gutter, okay. Because I don't even know, is there a curb and gutter around the tip of where the admin building is now? There isn't, is there? There's that
that's
stone
a-
wall. Okay,
Yeah, it's a lot of stone wall and then just where the pavement breaks off into the shoulder.
I mean, is that enough direction for them? What else do they
Yep,
need?
that's enough.
And Robert E. Lee, they did the Mill Road,
Yes.
okay.
So that's next year, right? In Sep-
26 is when it's actually constructed. They're gonna finish the engineering up this fall with construction in 26.
Okay, and then we have public taking a look at it. What will the public see?
They're gonna see some preliminary drawings, talk to them, what are your concerns about this? What do you think of this so far?
Okay.
We said we wanted to keep the public involved in the process. That didn't happen on the Mill Road project, so we want to make sure that they are aware of it with this project.
Okay, guys, thank you. Basically referred, you have your answer, we don't need anything else. Perfect, okay. All right, we are now to the Knowles, this is 6F, Knowles Nelson Stewardship Encumbrance Resolution Options, Department of National Resources, Luke Rothler, Grant Manager, Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program. Hi, Luke.
Hey, everybody, how are we doing today?
Good, thanks for your patience.
You bet.
So Luke, I guess I'll start out, you're pretty familiar, I think, with the conversations we've been having. We have the issue with the encumbrance on the grant, and we have been looking at different ideas. You've been very helpful in explaining how we would go about removing that encumbrance. The committee had a few questions about the it doesn't have to be a parking lot of equal value, but it could be recreational amenities. And that's when the committee had said, well, let's get Luke on to explain exactly what we can do to try and remove the encumbrance. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, trails work, how does that work?
Sure. So I guess I won't go all the way back in time on where this issue came from, but yeah, so basically we have the parking lot parcel next to the Door Hotel that has the Knowles Nelson stewardship encumbrance on it, which actually was a replacement parcel for the original grant as part of the Lakefront Park, across from Al Johnson's. And yeah, for various reasons, we're looking to move, get replacement land to replace the encumbered area of the parking lot. And yeah, like you mentioned, Julie, there's options. I think maybe the letter that I issued didn't clarify that very well, that there are options for how that replacement parcel could be used. Doesn't necessarily have to be parking stalls, because the original land that we lost when the highway was expanded certainly wasn't parking stalls, it was more green space. So if there's an opportunity for something like that, that would be fine. Yeah, essentially, I mean, if you guys have some ideas of, you know, current holdings that the village has or other acquisitions you're thinking of, you know, I can certainly consider those, and we can kind of make sure it matches up with our responsibilities under statute and code, which is, you know, to make sure that we replace the acreage, the value, and the benefit to the public. Those are the three things that we have to make sure that we still maintain if we transfer this somewhere else.
Lubian, you said too, it would have to be in that vicinity though, right? We couldn't pick something, you know, half mile down the road. I know you and I had talked about maybe a different parcel the village had, and you said, no, it would have to be close to that waterfront park. Is that correct?
I mean, preferably, especially if it's going to be a parcel, say another parking lot that is intended to serve the waterfront park, that would be preferable. You know, but really, I mean, we can discuss that depending on the kind of case by case options that you guys have. But if it's going to be something that's meant to serve that original lakefront park, then yeah, it's going to want to be, you know, within a reasonable proximity to that original property.
Luke, do you have, what space, what acreage are we actually talking about? What, in terms of your understanding, how much space are we talking and what value?
I can't say what the value might be. That'll require an appraisal. It appears, so the parcel in question that has the parking lot, I believe is 0.6 acres. At least that's what it says in the county GIS. And I believe, yeah, it's that entire parcel that is encumbered with the grant interest. So if we're looking to, if we are looking, I don't know what you guys are intending as the grant sponsor, but say for argument's sake, if you're looking to remove that entire parcel from the grant encumbrance, then on the acreage side of things, we'd have to have at least 0.6 acres of replacement land.
And if we're just looking at to remove it on those stalls that we, I'll say, allocated to the door, then if that's half of that, then we're only looking at 0.3 that we would have to worry about. Is that correct?
Yeah, and if you're looking to do a partial, if you're looking to kind of split the lot like that, then we're also probably looking at the village contracting for a survey, because we're going to need to revise or amend the contract to show the correct legal description for what remains of the parking lot. And then of course, everybody will need to update their GIS mapping as well. So, or I should say that'd mostly be on us. Our DNR mapping utilities show where the stewardship properties are. So we would need to update that as well. And that would require that survey.
Yeah.
So Luke, a little bit ago, you said if the space allocated was to be used for parking for the waterfront park, it would have to be located close by. If we were to choose to do a green space of comparable size and value, could it be further away then, just in village property and for public use?
Yeah, potentially, if we end up, potentially, I guess I'll just say that. I don't want to lead you guys too far down any yes or no path at this point without even having seen any, any exhibits or even a map of anything.
Realities. You answered my question, because I think I'm leaning more towards finding a green space to allocate in the village, and maybe that removes our encumbrance from having to be right there, because it seems like the right there requirement is if it's parking to serve that purpose.
Gotcha.
in the right, I mean, like the right there is also subjective to, it's not like we can say, okay, you have to be within 100 yards or whatever that is in there. Does there have to be an improvement to that? I mean, like if we just said there's green space, now we're putting the encumbrance for the Knowles Nelson on this green space that's existing. Is that sufficient, or do we actually have to make an improvement to that space?
No, there'd be no specific improvements required or anything like that. I mean, you'd want it to have benefit to the public, right? That's kind of the loose phrase that's in code that we need to stick to. So again, it's all frustratingly case by case, I'm sure for you guys right now as you hear me say it, but we can kick around ideas that you might have and kind of see if they fit the bill, so to speak. But no, there wouldn't be a specific like thou shalt put in a trail or a pavilion or something like that.
What pops to mind for me immediately as part of that is public gardens on, near the farm that we were talking about. That space allocated via Knowles Nelson as a dedicated green space garden usage. Because we're kind of planning that anyway.
But Luke, doesn't it have to be of equal or similar value?
Yes. So those are okay. So the three things that we need to hit: equal or better acreage, equal or better value, which will be from appraisal, and then equal or better benefit to the public. Acreage is easy. Benefit to the public is kind of case by case that we kind of talk about and figure out. And then value is just really a technical, appraisal report. That's really no wiggle room on that, right? So
there's a log request would be equivalent value.
Well, so when you're doing that appraisal, you're going to appraise the value of the parking lot. It's not going to be just the land itself. It'd actually be the improved value with the parking lot on there, correct?
Correct.
You don't seem so sure on
Yeah,
that.
that's what you had said before, Luke, was that we had to get an appraisal on the marketplace parking lot or that portion, that we'd be looking to replace to determine the value, so we knew what the replacement value was to remove the encumbrance.
Yes. Sorry, I guess maybe I'm missing what the previous question was.
Jerry was talking about a property we have a ways away, and the idea of putting community gardens in, maybe would that work, a public benefit? I think the only problem we might run into there is we already own the land, so it's not that we'd be.
Well, we already own all the land we're talking about.
It'd just be putting the encumbrance upon it so that we couldn't build on that section of it with something different than.
So Luke, why don't you
allocated.
explain that? If let's say the marketplace parking lot is worth $1 million, just throwing a big number out there. Minors, whatever we improve, once improved, has to have that same value, correct? It's not like we can we take something we already own? I know we had talked about maybe doing that with the parking lot, that when we were looking at perhaps where the old parks maintenance, old fire station is by the library, I think the discussion was, well, yes, if that new parking lot has the same value, that would be acceptable. So on this property Jerry's talking about, since we already own it, if we put $1 million worth of improvements on there, would that remove the encumbrance?
That's kind of a tricky, unique question that you're asking there. So you're saying basically we'd be comparing the current value of the parking lot as a parking lot, and then some type of future value of the replacement parcel after some type of development is done?
Yeah, we already own the property, so he's saying, well, after we improve the property we already own,
Well, there's another way we could go at this. We can ask Luke, what
I think
value?
we should finish Julie explaining to.
Well, I guess I'm confused because I thought I already asked the same question of, do we have to improve it? If it's property we've got, can we just move the encumbrance to there? Or do we move the encumbrance to there and have to increase the value of it by the amount of the grant? That's what I asked previously. Maybe just to clarify that very well.
Yeah, no, this won't come back to the amount of the grant at all, because most of the grant is still on the waterfront park.
Okay.
Just, we lost that sliver when they expanded the highway. And that encumbrance was then moved to this parking lot that is currently in dispute. So really, we're just gonna have to get an appraised value on that parking lot. And that's what we will have to replace, acreage value and the public benefit.
If we already own it, does that matter?
Already own.
The property we're gonna
Where
put
we
the
want to
encumbrance
put the
on.
encumbrance, if we want to put the encumbrance on property we already own, does that matter?
In the case of Knowles Nelson, no, it doesn't.
But the
It just
value
has to
of-
appraise for
Right.
similar, right?
But the
Right, you'd still have to do an appraisal on it.
Right, so the value of our property once improved,
Well, hold on, our value of our property, I think is really, we don't have to.
Improved
improve it.
or not.
Yeah,
Right.
improved or not.
The value.
That's what they're gonna appraise.
Is that correct, Luke? It's the value, and if it doesn't have enough value, then we'd have to improve it to match the value potential, but we don't have to.
Yes. It'll be based on whatever the current value is, I don't know what property we're talking about, but whatever if it's open green space, if it's got public gardens on it, if it's got a cute little sidewalk going through, whatever it has on it, it'll be based on the current status of the property.
So Luke, then is it fair to say if the village wanted to buy out the encumbrance, that would be based on the appraised value?
There is no buyout option.
So we can't just pay you back?
Correct.
I think we could if we paid the whole thing, but that would be really messy.
There is.
Yeah.
No, I'll just correct that. There is no buyout option, not even going to the full amount of the grant. That's not something that stewardship is set up for.
But
So-
thank
so
thank
just-
you for clarifying that, because some people said that there was. Okay.
So just one other thing, Luke. I'm guessing that roads get widened, and this has happened to you before. How
Yep.
have you seen villages and municipalities resolve this in an efficient way?
Yeah, pretty much the exact same way that you guys are kicking around right now. You're looking at existing lands that you have, or maybe stuff that you already have in the hopper to acquire for, say, a new park. I know it's limited there in your situation, but yeah, you're looking at your current holdings, possible future holdings, and whether or not having stewardship encumbrance on them would work in the long term. Because of course you don't want to do this again in 10 years, and I don't want to either. So finding a spot where you can hit those 3 metrics that we talked about, and that you don't have to do this again in the near future.
So I'm sorry, just one last question. So are you advising us or suggesting that or maybe you're telling us, there'd have to be 2 appraisals. One is for the land, this 0.6 land that is part of the Knowles Nelson today, and then the other appraisal would be for whatever property we identify.
Correct.
And what if the property we identify is valued more than the parking lot?
Then it'll be up to you. I mean, we can kind of survey a smaller area, say they come back and it's, X amount per acre, and then you can do the per acre math and say, okay, we only need to encumber 1.5 acres here. So let's, have a survey crew determine exactly where we want that to be. You can go over if you want to, it's up to you. We can kind of cross that bridge when we come to it, I guess.
Thank you, that was very helpful.
For sure.
So I had a question, and it's not necessarily for you, Luke, because I don't think you're familiar with the property, but so Wiltie is adjacent to our sports complex. And I know we haven't done anything with it yet. And when we first started the Wiltie committee, when we started talking about Wiltie and what to do with it, yes, housing for sure. I'm not suggesting it isn't housing. But we talked about open space and we talked about park space and things like that. And I think when we talked about it, we talked about that space being, if you got looking at an aerial view of Wiltie, it would be the space that would be closer to ZZ, which is close to the sports complex. So that could be an option, I think. I don't know, you're more familiar with it. Luke, I know you don't know this property, but we have 57 acres that's adjacent to, or not all of it is adjacent, some of it, most of it is adjacent to our sports complex and our community gardens.
So we had talked about a subdivision on there, Luke, with a trail around and a park, or small parks on there, so something like that, perhaps we could submit as something for you to look at. Is that correct? The park and the trail.
Potentially, sure.
As long as the value
As
and
long as the
acreage
value.
meets or exceeds the requirement.
So the next step for us, what we should probably do is we should get that appraisal on that property, that 0.6 acres now. That would give us a reference point and,
A starting place.
So we
It
know
gives us
the
a starting
exact dollar amount we need to find.
Yeah.
and that has to be a specified appraiser that's approved by the DNR.
Well, not exactly. So we do have our list that our review appraiser maintains. So those are the folks that, have worked with DNR grants before and kind of know the special little wrinkles that we have. But you're welcome to get someone else off the list or off of our list, I should say, if you so choose. I would strongly recommend they talk to our review appraiser beforehand, since he's the gatekeeper of whether or not we ultimately accept appraisals. And I did forward all that contact info to Julie and stuff, but I can certainly share it more widely if you'd like. And I would agree that'd be a good spot to start, because then you kind of have a number in your head in terms of value, and you can kind of narrow it down to various potential sites, and then we can have a lot of back and forth and figure out the best fit.
What's neat
How long
about,
do those normally take, Luke, if we were to ask in the next couple of weeks or something?
The actual appraisals, probably, I mean, given whatever workload they have,
I guess that was my point. I don't know what their workload's like or what.
yeah, from the date you sign them to the contract, I would project at least a month and a half, probably, before you have the appraisal report back, maybe more if they're busy. And then our guy, reviews appraisals for everything at DNR, so his workload can be pretty intense too. So we're at least looking at a few months. I mean,
60 to 90 days,
hopefully.
right?
Yeah, something along those lines. But
As a committee, we would refer to the board to appraise the lot to know our exact Knowles Nelson encumbrance value.
Do we need to, or can we do it?
Or can we,
To expend the funds, we need the board approval, just like we did at the.
with the lot
the post
other, yeah.
office.
Louise, what's really interesting about your idea is understanding his explanation. We get the valuation here, and if that's 57 acres, which we know is pretty high value, even if it's got to go a little bigger, it's still an insignificant portion of that property. So it seems like that's a really interesting suggestion.
Let's see.
I think the challenge would be the public benefit on that. We'd have to figure it out. I'm sure we could carve it up. We'd have to be very
Okay.
specific about it, but I think
Well, I mean,
Okay,
if you're at the soccer field 3 nights a week and you see how many people are there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 200 people there.
so Luke, how do we quantify the public benefit, or do you do that?
I mean, yeah, it'll be kind of a discussion. I mean, I'll lean on you guys or Julie or whoever, I'll be working with directly on this to kind of get some good talking points about that, I guess. And of course, it's going to be kind of tricky to compare apples to oranges, parking spots versus green space or whatever, but we can sort it out.
Based on your experience, what typically is more preferred on your side, parking or green space? I would have guessed green space. I'm sorry, I may be naive.
Well, typically, yeah. So this is what we call an urban green space grant, which is one of the many, many sub programs under Knowles Nelson. And obviously that kind of fits more the original project site than it does a parking lot. So, the priorities for urban green space is open natural space in close proximity to urban development. Okay, that's what the original park was. Protect from urban development. Yep. Scenic, ecological, natural values, etc. And then we do also carve out a tiny thing for community gardening, which that means, like community vegetable garden. I don't think you guys are kicking around that idea. So we're looking.
It is on our radar.
Well, actually.
Oh, it is, okay.
Actually, the property that we bought is adjacent to our current community garden.
Okay.
And we're
So that
talking.
that could potentially be easy talking points then for this.
Yeah, and there's community interest in expanding that. So, yeah.
Okay. I mean, without knowing any other details, of course, I don't even know where the site is. Theoretically, that could be a good tie-in for us.
So in that case, I move that we recommend to the board to pursue an appraisal on the existing Knowles Nelson encumbrance, so we understand the exact value that we need to replace.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Luke, thanks very much.
Yeah, Luke, very insightful. I was very confused on this and you helped answer a lot of key questions.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
All right.
Have a good rest of your day. Okay, next up is 6G like George, new administrative building, citing.
Okay, so, at the finance committee meeting, we had talked a little bit about, or they had talked a little bit about, so they tentatively, until it gets board approval, put the new building in the CIP for 26 for construction, engineering this fall, construction in 26. They still don't have a building location specified, so finance had said that Parks needs to make a decision or make a recommendation so we can proceed with that project.
Is there any reason our original recommendation's been ruled out?
Well, there was a report, as you know, that came from task force that members on there had said that they wanted to see it at the site of the old Parks maintenance facility, but the Lagerquist site is still available as well.
Yeah, I think
The Lagerquist site came in second.
So there was a report that the ad hoc committee with Dick Burris made at the last meeting. So I made sure it's that.
Did you see it or watch it?
I didn't watch it, I read the note.
Might be worth, yeah.
So from an expense of having to tear down the old building and redo that area, I would assume, not being an engineer, that it would be a lot cheaper to build a building in a field than to raise and redo an area towards downtown.
Well, we've budgeted money to raise it already. So the raising's not.
Raising isn't that expensive anyway.
And the infrastructure, a lot of the infrastructure's in place because the sewer and water line's already available.
So,
And it was, this was a lot of people from the community that weighed in on this. How many people were there totally in the committee?
hold on. The
We
committee,
had 3 trustees, right? And
the committee was
Yeah.
Church,
first and
the committee was Ken Church, Dick Burris, Patrice Champeau, Nate Bell, Bridget White, Kurt Harf,
we had 3 people. from
and
the
then,
public.
Chris Heck.
Well, so I mean, so I think you have to, look at pros and cons, do we want to tie up that parks maintenance facility property? Should it be reserved for something in the future? I don't know, some people say parking. If you move there, you're gonna have to pay to redesign the building. You go out to Lagerquist, as you mentioned, Mike, we're gonna have to run the lateral out there.
Of course, it'd be
200, yeah, what was it?
$220,000 to put the lateral out there, which the village has to do anyway.
to get to future development.
No.
Direction.
No, by our zoning and by law, we have to hook up the Lagerquist house
Hmm.
because we annexed them.
You
So
buy-
we're gonna
annex-
be spending that money anyway, the part of it.
But can't we declare that building not livable
Why would we
and
do
not have
that?
to? Well, I mean, make it a historic site like the historical.
You'd still need bathrooms.
Yeah, so the code, Denise is right, the way the code reads is when you annex property with a residential structure, it has to be hooked up to the public sewer. And we never did do that.
Eric, did you have a comment?
So, yeah, just one quick comment, I just heard that was the #1 site as my old facility. And I'm just wondering, was there any thought from the people that were thinking that was the place that they wanted the new administration about introducing more traffic to an already congested, very congested spot down there.
Actually, there wasn't. So
That would be my biggest concern about putting a new facility down there. I don't think that Chris Heck would probably sign off on that as well.
actually, Chris did.
No, he did not.
That is shocking.
He was at the first meeting only.
I don't think that's very fair to have that
I
conversation
don't
here
think it's
about what
fair.
Chris Heck would or wouldn't have said. I don't think that's.
And also, he's the one that designed the system they used to determine the grading system they used to determine to determine where the location was. Chris ran that meeting.
I
Until he
know
couldn't anymore.
Chris has said to me that this facility, had they known that the village was gonna grow and grow this fast out this way, they would have looked further
Because
out.
he's
And
driving because he's driving a fire truck down Mill Road. So Eric, the thing about a lot of traffic. So you have people that would be working there, right? And that's 4 or 5 cars or something. And then people that would be going to the administration building and for visits that would have access to it from the east, not here. There'd be a parking lot where they'd have access to it and they could exit to the east and not downtown. At night, there would be parking for the parking lots available, with the exception of when there's meetings. And as we've seen, we never have more than 10 people besides committee members at a meeting, with the exception of 3 times a year. So that would allow for parking in the evenings. So I'm not convinced that it would, wreak havoc on like so many more people. You have how many people that are working the building that you have?
At any given time, there's 7 of us.
Okay, so it's about how many people that work in the current administration building.
And then, I mean, you've got guys coming and going from there with equipment all the time too.
Yeah, we want to come and go.
Large equipment.
But I just
So-
view it as, here's an opportunity, we can maybe decongest that area instead of bringing the same amount of people, maybe even a little more. I don't know what the foot traffic's like at the administration building every single day. Well, I'd imagine it can be quite busy in there. So, but if the parking is coming off, you said the parking's coming up from ZZ?
No, the parking would be, it's your facility, so the parking lot would be on Mill Road,
Oh, okay.
but they can come in from Woodcrest. They don't have to come down the hill, they don't have to come up this way, especially because whoever's coming there, chances are they know the village well, because they're coming to ask a question about probably some local thing, I think. So, I mean, I'll be frank, I'm of the mind that that building is still too big and needs to get smaller, and I'm not in favor of putting it at Lagerquist. So it's.
I'll
really-
contrast the opinion of, we went through a whole long.
Well aware, yeah.
Process. I didn't read anything in the minutes. I didn't watch the meetings, but in the minutes of any of the meetings of the task force that didn't bring up points that we'd already discussed. And I think there were some things that they didn't discuss that we had discussed in choosing the building, the size, the location. I'm still strongly in favor of Lagerquist over the Parks building.
Okay.
I really think that we had some good people working this, and I respect their recommendation, and I want to support the recommendation the Citizens Committee made, which is to locate it where the Parks Service building is now.
As do I.
As do I.
Of course. Because that's why this committee is staffed.
It's Denise.
Excuse me, Denise,
So,
that's,
yep, I said it, and I said it out loud. What I would like to know is to think about is how small do you think that the administration needs to be. Louise handed out that.
The administration building?
Mhm.
Well, how, I think that we could take, I'm not an architect. So that's,
Give me a square
it's a bit of a
footage.
loaded question,
No,
but, you know, I'll do my best. So, I think there are I think that the meeting room could be smaller.
Smaller than this, right?
And then, yeah,
This is too big?
this is the meeting, I know that Denise has made this point, as have you, that the meeting room is the same size as this room with a raised dais. It also has a separate meeting room for closed session and so forth. And at any given time, we have 10 people out there. So this meeting room, if the tables were set up in a different way or we didn't have tables, and most meetings that you go to in village meetings, there's no tables. Very few. They sit in chairs, which is normal, right? And they hold 50 people. And right now, the one we're building holds 75. That's all I'm saying. I just don't think we'll ever, it's rare, very rare. And then I think we have a spare office over on the office side. And then we have a large atrium, which I know got smaller. I understand that. And I'm not sure that that space is needed. So I don't know how many square feet that is. I think currently we're at 8,000, I think, in that neighborhood.
we're at 7,244 because the 8,000 encompasses the porch.
Okay, but we
So
were
the
always
square
told
footage
8,000,
of the
okay.
functioning building itself, the offices and the chambers, et cetera,
Gotcha.
is 7,244.
And
Okay.
we're replacing a building with, do we even have 1,000 square feet in that building?
Well, it
The
probably had-
administration
Well-
building currently is 1,700 square feet.
But it has to be replaced because it's not.
I'm not
Functional.
disagreeing with the
and
replacement.
I'm not sure it's a fair comparison. I mean,
I agree, but scale.
Yeah, and some of the things, Louise, you mentioned were to plan for that future growth so that this building works 20, 30, 50 years down the road and isn't
for more people in the office.
more people in the office and larger participation in public sessions, voting, things like that.
I think that the public participation is declining, and if you look out there, I mean, how many more people are coming to these meetings remotely, and that is a nationwide trend, where I don't see more people physically coming to meetings year over year. There's gonna be better participation, I think that is happening, but it's all happening virtually.
There's participation when people are certainly upset and don't want things to happen. And one of the things that they were upset about was the admin building. You guys know it, you were at the meetings. They thought it was too big. They were very upset about the purchase of Lagerquist. This goes back a lot of years, but so what? It just what it was. So
With Lagerquist,
we need to listen to them.
with Lagerquist, one of the things they didn't understand is if the village didn't purchase it, they were gonna have a solar farm right next door. If
They-
had any possible.
They went to at least 20 different businesses in the village, that company, to say, you have vacant property, we want to build a solar farm where you are. That company did that everywhere in the county.
Right, but the owner he was in negotiations with them.
So we didn't communicate very well on that. I mean, like, I'm not disagreeing with your point, Julie, but I'm saying I did not communicate that very well. I think that we could do that better. Because we always can do better.
But anyway, back to your point.
So you handed out this sheet, and so that's what
I
I'm
just
asking.
wanted everyone to understand how many how many people worked in the building and how many
So
people
what
lived
what
there.
is your recommendation according to this sheet?
My recommendation would be to take another look at the administration, building. And I don't think we need a porch. I think we need a smaller meeting room. And I take another look at trying to not have, I'm not an architect. So I don't know if the way it's designed, we have to have the atrium. I don't know. Now the way it's designed, we may have to. I'm not sure.
Well, I think it was designed so because we can't have parking. We're not supposed to have parking in the front There was minimal in the front, so it gave rear and front access, hence the corridor.
It also fit the property because it was a farm with our architectural compatibility standards. It was trying to fit the site it was on. So
So
as you guys
if you-
know, we paid to have that building designed twice. We did make it smaller based on the comments that we did receive. So, yeah, I think different site, different
We haven't
design.
voted here, but sounds like we will, and we kind of know where it's gonna go, but my point is, if we can, I would suggest we use a village advisory council, again, of citizens to come back and make a recommendation as to the size of the building and aesthetically what they'd like it to look like.
Isn't that kind of what we're supposed to do
Yeah,
as
I
committee
don't know.
members? as
Well,
we
Well,
are?
I think it's good to get as many people from the community involved. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's been a lot of passion about this from a lot of people.
I'm just
here.
worried about the continued spiral of, the idea came up years ago. We went through it, we got inputs, we refined on design over literally years. And then it spiraled back to, well, even though that passed the committees, that wasn't what the board wanted. So then it got back and now we're kind of at the drawing board again.
The board did approve the design the second design, remember we had design
The
and then
smaller design.
the board members wanted us to, some wanted to redesign, so we paid to have a redesign. And when that came back to the board did make a motion in a second and approved it. It wasn't unanimous, if I remember right, but they did approve. Right now, the way it is on the books, we have an approved plan, which was the second design. Now, will that fit on a different property? That's a good question.
It will.
Or does it have to be redesigned?
It will. So I don't disagree, and I'll just say this for the public record, that the input is good. But I will die on this hill, meaning that the people on any given committee have the research, have had the conversations, have talked about it from every angle, know the pros, know the cons, have talked amongst themselves, have heard from the public. We have been part of every single step of the way. Not to discount what Ron and his fellow people on the committee did.
I'm sorry, Ron was on the committee as well. Did I not name you? I'm sorry.
But they did not talk about all the same things that we did. And there were some very important things that they didn't talk about. And one of the things is, so in our packet, a couple months ago, this was a drawing from Chris Schmelz when that was presented to us. Okay. And I think that was under comments and correspondence, so we didn't discuss anything. It's pretty close to scale. An inch equals 100 feet. And so the red line is what our setbacks have to be, because we abut R1 and R2. So this whole lot now becomes only what's inside the red. And we have a library there and their parking lot, which currently does not have 37 parking spaces. I find it either you make it so small to fit here and add parking. I also agree with Eric that in a road that is too narrow, we want 7 members of our staff, the building inspector, the public to come and go and increase congestion on a road. It was a unanimous vote of the board at the time to purchase the Lagerquist property. And I realized that there, Louise, you were not here for that. Mike was not on the Parks Committee. but it was a unanimous vote from the board. Not only to purchase it, but purchase it because of an admin building.
No,
If you,
that was not discussed. That was not the discussion. The discussion was a potential future fire station.
no, that's not why we bought it for a fire station, Nate. We bought it for the administration building, and
Well, it was in closed session.
in the
so no one
future,
knows.
it was for, we would also have room for a fire station. We would never spend $1 million for a fire, to build a fire station when we don't know when and if. It was admin, and it was a room for the fire
So
station.
somewhere in
Well, from-
between is
from a
what happened.
committee
It was in closed
standpoint-
session, we're never gonna
No,
know.
no.
Well, so
hold
from
on.
a committee standpoint, I wasn't in the closed session, 'cause I'm a board. We were discussing pretty far down the road of putting it near the Whittlesey property, near the sewage treatment plant. And immediately after the Lagerquist property was purchased, the direction was to examine putting it there, and that's when it pivoted hard, and that's when the design
Everything
went to
shifted.
there.
Actually, it is, you guys, just for the record, just real quick, it is very well documented in the facilities plan that the village was looking at Wiltie, and they are considering another property. And I'm not sure how it's worded, but it says if the village acquires that property, they should consider putting it there. So,
I have
There
the
was-
plan with me.
so there was discussion in the facilities plan about it being out on Lagerquist.
So my
things
other
change,
And that's
concern.
before we bought it.
My other concern is if you shrink the building and if you don't want extra offices for future growth, Louise, we are pegging ourselves into kind of a similar situation where we are now. We have the fire station here, we have the admin there, the parks is now in a really great spot. And it's all piecemeal, because what the village has done in the past is we utilized what we had and took advantage of it. So if you put a building here with zero, a much, much smaller building on the parks maintenance building, you have zero room to grow. That's not good planning at all, and especially not to have any additional space for not knowing what the future brings, including one office. I kind of find that ridiculous. I don't know how you plan for the future. We keep talking and then not plan for it.
So we're
Where
planning
we
for,
had,
are we
when-
planning for 400 or 500 more people to live here?
I bet you there will be in the next, for the life of this building, absolutely.
So we have to build houses so people move here. Is that what we're gonna do?
Well, the Department of Administration does population projections and they do predict our population.
Well, people have to live somewhere. That would mean we need to build houses for them to live in. So if you build it, yeah, they'll come.
I didn't say that we were building them. It will just naturally happen over the next 50 years.
Where are they gonna build them? The only place they're gonna build them is here, and that's us. They're not gonna
But
build
I think
them
to
where we
Denise's
grow.
point, we're not gonna be doing the building. I mean, that's going to
But my
happen.
point is that a developer could, yeah, especially with what we did with the land
There's
map.
lots being sold all the time with new homes that Julie is giving permits to for single-family homes. I mean, we don't have to own the property. I know we want to do the housing thing, and hopefully that will happen in the near future. But just people want to be here. I mean, we hit 1,200 sooner than what was anticipated. So it's just, I think it's such short-sightedness that we are a growing community and we want to build a brand new building in a place that we can't grow, on a piece of property that we cannot grow on. And so then when they grow out of that, not in my lifetime, not in probably most of ours, and then they're going to be confronted with the same thing. Again, where do we go? It didn't last as long. We can't expand.
Well, again, I respect what you're saying, but I think 6,000 square foot would easily fit on there, especially if you go 2 stories and you can get a lot of offices in there. And we've been in 1,700 square feet for a lot of years.
2
Went from
stories does
probably
blow the price way out, because we talked about that.
Well, 2
with-
stories is not gonna blow the price way up.
He said it would.
I would say then maybe you need to talk, that's usually the most efficient way to increase the size of a building because you're not doing the double foundation.
But it's not efficient for staff and everybody who has to meet with the public.
Yeah, you.
We
you
can
have to
argue
put in an
this, we can
elevator
argue
and-
all day long, but I think we have a recommendation, we can either accept it or reject it. I'm of the opinion we should accept the recommendation and do the best we can with the space that they're recommending.
See, I don't want to do the best that we can with limited. I'm sorry, Louise.
No, you go ahead.
No, that's all I wanted to say.
The other thing that when the committee did their work, what wasn't, I don't know if in play is the right word, but Lampert's wasn't up for sale yet. And I know everybody hates the outside of that building. I do too. It's hideous. And the inside isn't that great either. But I would have sure liked to know that that was available before we built the Parks building. But nonetheless, we have 2 big commercial buildings here that are gonna sit empty for a while. And, Christ, fine, I understand it. I mean, that roof, that needs some work. But Lampert sits there empty. I'm not quite sure what that group's gonna do with it, but it's not gonna be Lampert's anymore. So that might be a possibility, rather than building anything. And we did look at, by the way, and it was part of what of the work they did go in and look at, the old Traver Clinic property. And, it estimated like with renovations, because it's, also buying it and renovating and things like that would have been prohibitive. So it wasn't like this group was searching, please, can we find someplace else to put it? That really truly wasn't the case. So for an existing building and other properties too, which the village doesn't even own and that weren't, including the property across the street from Lagerquist, which the village has been in and out of negotiations with her. So I just think that there still could be other options.
When we do have a lot of land and assets, I'd hate to start talking about not utilizing them and going to buy more land and assets.
We aren't, yeah, you're right, we aren't.
Well, and it's not like the Lagerquist property came in second. It's not like it was way, way, way down on the list. So I think our committee and our board at the time that made these decisions did their due diligence. And what changed was the board and the people on it who had different ideas. And that's one of the things that our old clerk Heidi referenced in her resignation letter, that, there's plans and moving forward, and then there's new boards and they change things. And
That is how it goes.
But-
That is
but
how this
aside-
works. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised at that.
But could I also mention though, that aside from that, the other thing that changed was, and having been on parks for that period of time, we, like in the old days before COVID, we would see someone would bring a rendering in on phone core in the old days, and you'd see a picture of it, and people sometimes attended in person or sometimes didn't, but there was something that they could see. And so the actual rendering of the building was never in a meeting packet. We
had
saw,
the public session with Mike in the village hall. I remember they were
yeah,
up
he had
and-
3 of them.
Yeah, he had 3 renderings and the public was there and
Yeah, but they
We
were my
talked through it.
easels. I actually put them on the foam board. They might
Right.
even be in the closet yet if they're not.
but the finished rendering, the
that
one that
was-
was in the Pulse, that
Well,
everybody reacted to, that was never in a packet, not when I was on parks.
Yeah, because we didn't have a
It
decision
was
on
never
that.
in a packet. It was on that screen because Mike was presenting it to us on Zoom in a PowerPoint. It was never in a packet.
Louise, you're right, because it was a draft we were still discussing and somebody went and pulled it off the Zoom thing, I mean, we,
Yeah.
before we had a final product is what
Yeah,
happened.
that's how they got,
Well,
I mean,
there's even
everybody
an
thinks I
A/B
gave it to them,
option
I didn't
on
give
the
it to them, they
easel
went
and
on
we
Zoom,
tweaked
they
it.
saw it, and they pulled it from Zoom.
And that was in
The
a packet
public
too.
never saw it.
The ABC was in a packet as well.
I'm not sure that matters. I think,
I think it mattered because the public saw it, I think that's one other thing that
well,
changed.
I'm agreeing with you. I think that's what happened, it impacted the election to some degree. And that's why you do get new boards, is if people have a different opinion than the board and what they voted for, then sometimes they make change. That happens.
I think to your point about public input, Mike, and to Jerry's like, yeah, you don't, if you have everything be by a public committee, you never get anywhere, but I do think that we could have a public input on this and schedule that and invite people in there because.
Well, which we did a couple of years ago, and then, like, I remember, Saturday sessions, and there were different things, but,
You asked them what they wanted, did they see a rendering of the building?
at that time, no, because we had to take their input and craft it into. a
And the input
rendering.
from staff, which I fully understand and is what we need.
And then we did have the public meeting with the 3 boards up here, I remember that. And not many people spoke up at that time.
So there was some disconnect between what the input they gave you and that other public meeting, and then they opened the pulse and saw what the building was gonna be. It
Well, that
wasn't
was
what
a-
they envisioned.
Yeah, because the Pulse put something out there that was not a final product and got people worked up.
So we talked a lot about parking and
It's gonna look.
earlier agenda items. So how, if you put the admin building there, do you secure the parking for the meetings?
For the parkings, for the meetings, if the admin building's over there?
Yeah.
What do you mean? How do you
At the
secure?
public, to make sure that there's parking for staff, for board members, for,
And I'm not quite sure I understand. How many people are parked out there right now? For this meeting?
I don't know, I didn't count.
Probably about 12, 13 cars. I counted them when I came.
Okay.
There was a lot.
So let's pretend that, and then, so, and you said you have 7 staff members at the, over there. So,
I'm just saying, the way that it is used, the way that the library's parking is used for people going to the beach, how do you guarantee that there would even be room for board and staff in a lot that's downtown? I think shared parking
oh, I
is
see
a
your point.
fabulous idea.
I
I
see your
do.
point, yeah.
And I think that if, which I think was Ken Church's favorite parcel, which was on Woodcrest, but the private owners did not want an administration
Right.
building next to their home. I think shared parking there would have been a great idea. I don't think shared parking in a downtown with as many parking challenges as what we have, with the waterfront being as popular as what we have, with Chop being right down the street with no parking lot, that we have meetings during the day and at night. They vary. We have lots of meetings. So who's to say that that parking lot won't necessarily always be full during, I don't know, 6-7 months of the season?
After 5, I would argue it won't be.
What about everybody eating at Chop?
Well, who from the village would need it except on a night that we have meetings? And we meet at night for the board meets at night, right?
Mhm.
And plan commission, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 times 12 is 24. So that's 24 days a year.
We get a lot of times, though, Louise, I have to park on the street. Sometimes quite often the parking
Right,
lot
but
is
there'll be
full
more,
and
I
people
mean,
are
I'm
around.
assuming that we'd have to put have as many parking spaces there, depending on because the parking that's here, I don't know what kind of parking restraints we had when we built this building. But when we build a building over there, the required parking would be whatever the required parking is based on how many people are working there and what would be expected,
And
right?
the size of, yeah, it's based on number of employees and square footage of your meeting rooms.
So that's what would have to be there, which is
I
why,
know that's what would have to be there, which it won't fit, but that's here nor there.
would it fit if it was a two-story building?
Yeah, no, because your square footage would still be, even if you shrunk it, it's gonna be a hard press with the setbacks that you have to meet. If you don't believe me, go draw it out, go walk it out, let's stake it out. And let's see, actually, before we go making a recommendation that nobody maybe here, other than I, maybe Nate, understands zoning and the zoning code that we need to follow and the setbacks that we need to follow. Because to make a recommendation, maybe we need to know exactly what we're dealing with, to know
I'm good
what
with
kind
that.
of size and of admin we could get there, which would then dictate the parking, which would dictate, well, I think we'd be fine in green space because we'd have all those extra setbacks, so I'm not worried about green space.
I'm good with that, and you're right, I mean, we need to make sure that we've got proper amount of parking, I really believe we would. But I'm fine with that, I'm also fine with, you know, I'm fine with figuring out, like, if it was a two-story building and/or the building that the current plan, and you're right, won't fit, not the way it's designed, or not the current plan, I should say. What size building can we put there? And then, based on that building and our codes, how many, and the number of people that will work with there, which I think is currently six or seven, right, including part-time?
Depends what you do for a future administrator. You may need to hire somebody who's doing community and zoning. If you end up with somebody who's having finance, you're realistically looking at it and thinking at least one more person right away.
Okay, so we're up to 7 or 8. Anyway, however many people are in there, and then, so that's how many parking spots we would have. So let's measure it and see if it'll fit. Fine. Everybody okay with that?
Plus the public.
Well, I mean, if you delay the decision now, that's just one more month and you're trying to develop a CIP plan for
Yeah.
26 spending,
Yep.
so. Just,
We gotta do something at 26. I
I'm
don't,
not sure.
I don't
at
wanna
some
not
point,
do
I
something at
hear what you're saying,
26.
but okay.
I think too, you know, it may be best, I don't know, to have somebody like Skylar draw it out, because I think people will always question motives if you know, depending who draws it, you know, did they get it right? It may be best to have Skylar draw it and you know exactly what you have. He can put yours, see if there's any area for stormwater. I know that the committee talked about boring under Mill Road and draining it into the wetlands, so I think we should get a price on that too, just so we know exactly what we're budgeting, what we're looking at, because give you the Parks building, for example, we budgeted, you know, a certain amount, later found out we had this lateral issue. That might just push us over budget with that lateral issue. So I think those infrastructure things should be figured out ahead of time, so they don't jeopardize or take away from what's budgeted for the
right,
actual
well, and it's
building.
not to say that wherever we end up putting it, whether it's Lagerquist or wherever it is, that there aren't things that aren't gonna pop up. Of course they are, they always do.
So just two comments about building out on that site that maybe got discussed, maybe it's overlooked. When I first took over as a supervisor out there, I had questioned why the concrete aprons are all dilapidated and distorted out there. And
Is out there right here on Mill? You mean okay,
my old shop.
yeah,
Why is it why is the foundation so sunken in and distorted out there? And what I was told it was an old dumping site back in the day. So that might need to be taken into consideration
they
too.
discussed that at the meeting. And
With
what it
how
wasn't.
much is gonna have to come out of that area, and then also the time frame to build. How much congestion are we gonna be putting down on Mill Road to build, and how much are we gonna hamstring ourselves if we do decide to put a building there? Because dump trucks, and then everybody parking, you're gonna have the same situation up by the yacht club. We're gonna be doing it. So that could be something else that needs to be thought of too, is Yeah, we build and excavate, get the ground to be solid. I know we had some trouble out in the Parks building, trying to get the foundation to be right for that building. We could run into it equally at this site if it was truly an old dumping site. Because if you haven't walked around that building, I encourage you, go walk around and you'll see yourselves. All the concrete aprons are all distorted, broken up. Corners of the building are kind of caved in like this. It's done a lot of shifting and moving over the years it's been there. So I just wanted to put that out there. If you haven't seen that, you might want to go take a look. And then also the congestion factor, again, if we do decide to move forward with that building at that location. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be dangerous. People are gonna be parking all over the place, especially the contractors. So if you haven't thought about that, that could also be a little side note as well. And then also, I like what Denise brought up with the parking down there. You're running a meeting, as soon as these people find out that they can park in there, you see Mill Road swell up this time of year, they're gonna be in there causing havoc. So it might not be thought of as a big deal right now, but anywhere and anywhere these people can go to park, trust me, they're gonna park.
Do they
So
park
it could-
here?
It could be a potential issue.
Do they park here?
I've seen them stretch, I don't know if they're
No, in
down
this,
right now for the
do they
dirt
park in
ball.
this parking lot?
In this lot?
Yeah.
I'm not sure on that.
They don't.
So, have
Um,
they before? They may have.
so, but in answer to your question about the land there, that did come up. And actually Patrice Champeau brought it up and wondered if what it was before they built the fire station. And, the old fire station, current Parks building. And I think it might have been, and Ron, you remember this, and I think it might have been either you or Kenny Church that said it was not,
Well, we had that investigated when we built the library.
yeah,
The dump is across the street.
Yeah, I actually looked at,
Kirk is right, there is problems with the old fire station.
Well, because all the water from the bluff keeps coming down and it flows under that parcel. Comes out into the swamp back here.
yeah, I had looked at the DNR logs and went back as far as I could, and I couldn't see anything where there was a dump or
Yeah.
not even the underground
In
storage
the old
tanks.
plat books, it's called Old Dump Road.
Yeah. And then I did, however, look at the soil, there was a soil report that looked at hydrology as well and did a bunch of soil borings out there. And it showed the front of the lot was okay for construction. And then the back, they didn't do the borings, but they made some notes about the water, because as we know, like Denise said, it's all coming down, but
I did have one other question, sort of a separate, kind of changing lanes just a teeny bit, and that is the wetlands that, I think you've said many times that there's wetlands that surround the back of this building that go this way and this way,
yeah.
the delineation. And when you look at the map between, I think there's two different maps maybe to look for delineations, wetland delineate, they don't match. And so I'll give you that information because in some places it shows it's wetlands and in others it doesn't. So I'll show you what, I know, the map, the difference is that the DNR's map and,
Army Corps of Engineers.
yeah, so they don't match.
Because they look at, they use different criteria for mapping. One, it's been a long time since I looked at that, but one looks at wetlands over a certain size.
Right.
And the other one looks at wetlands of a different size.
So what do
So
we
And
use?
that's what gets mapped.
What do we use, DNR?
We've talked this,
GIS uses the Wisconsin Wetland Inventory maps.
Okay.
we've
I'm sorry,
talked this through.
Yep.
It seems like one option is we have a motion, or to Denise's suggestion, we delay this decision. Or what are we gonna do?
Well, what do you want? Wait, no, wait, sharpening your pen. What do you want to do? I entertained the idea of doing some sort of a survey, so we're not wasting our time with redesigning a building and so forth, but if we don't, so if we would then refer So let's play it out. So we now then would make a recommendation to the village board that, if I'm correct on this, one way it would go is make a recommendation to the village board that the administration building be built at the current park site. Am I right?
Pending whether, I think what you're saying is pending whether it fits on the site. Is that what you're saying?
Pending whether what?
Whether it fits on the site?
Yeah, but either way, well, let's say we don't do that part, but either way, that's what this board, sorry, that's what the majority of the board's saying right now, right? Or or it would be right now just a straight recommendation. This is going to the board. Sorry, we're recommending to the board that we build the administration building on this site, but either way. So then we're leaving it in the board's lap to say, okay, now we got to figure out if it's gonna fit there. Am I
The
right?
way,
Is
the
that
way
how
I
this goes?
thought the way I thought I heard their alternatives is one, we make a recommendation to the board that it goes in the parks building site. That was one.
Yep.
Denise, you correct me. I thought Denise was saying, look, let's do some further investigation before we make that recommendation, which would push this decision out another month. It seemed like those were the two alternatives, and we'd be making that decision after we collected more information. I might have heard you wrong, but those are the two alternatives.
Or
I heard.
maybe, is there a third? Sorry, I'm just trying to speak.
Maybe
To
there
your
is a
point.
third.
Well, to your point, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to move it along.
Yeah.
It would be that we move it to the board, we make a recommendation to the board that that site be considered pending, what is it, a survey or something that we gotta do to see if the site will hold the building?
How does that really make it go any faster?
Well, it doesn't come back to parks, it goes to the board.
Well, it's gonna come back to parks anyway, though. Like, unless we're gonna just plop that building, which I think nobody here thinks that's reasonable, or likely to have to just plop that building down. It's gonna come back to parks either way, so I don't disagree. I don't see the benefit.
Parks would have to participate in the redesign of the building and the
Yeah, 'cause-
changes to it.
Because you can't really tell how much parking you need until you know the size of your building.
Yeah, and we would need to make new decisions on office space,
Unless we make assumptions
elevator
like,
space, meeting space.
yeah, unless we make assumptions like meeting room would be X amount number of employees, and there you can kind of tell what your parking is, and then.
But I think we need to know where we are with the setbacks.
Denise is right, I agree. All right, so the
So-
motion, go ahead.
Recommend to the village board that Stan Tech be hired to draw the setbacks on the property.
Is there anything else that we need to know about that property?
And I think what Julie said about a cost, because there were quite a few people. Yeah, I'll use this word, whining about the $220,000 it would take to get sewer and water from ZZ out to where we would need it. But what is burrowing underneath the road?
Yeah.
That cost, and that would probably be a Stan Tech issue also, right, Julie?
Because we don't want to get in a situation where we do a lot of work, redesign a building that is a couple of years out, ends up costing more than putting a bigger, more functional building at Logger Woods.
So how
That
about,
would be a disservice.
so
to the
how, I don't know the right, you guys can correct this, but what if we had a motion to investigate through engineering services, which would need to be defined, the viability and redesign requirements to put a building on the parks building property. So all we're doing is an investigation to see the viability and to test out whether or not it's a site that will work that we can confidently recommend to the board later. But I don't know the timeline for that. And I think it has to be specified. I shouldn't say this time, I think we have to give them some engineering specifications. I've heard parking, I've heard setbacks. I've heard 1-story versus 2-story. I've heard cost, square foot, office spaces. There's a lot of questions here.
But setbacks wouldn't setbacks really tell us?
I think we should look at building footprint, not see what
Just look at
footprint
the
is
footprint.
possible.
Yeah, just
I
the
think
footprint.
Just-
Right.
Okay,
And
just
that's why-
simplify it.
That's
simplify
why
it.
That's why setbacks. are-
we
Simplify.
draw the
Okay.
setbacks, like
Yeah.
what I did, know how much space we have to work with,
Mhm.
what size building, what kind of parking is
exterior
required.
Our usable space on the lots, really what we're looking at,
Right.
and we can make a determination. from that.
And adding 5 additional parking spaces for the library.
Okay. So, motion would be to engage Stantec, I guess, right? Yeah, that's it. All right, to determine the setbacks for that lot. And could we discuss it, would that be ready to go and we can discuss it at the September meeting? Or no? Not enough time?
We can ask.
Okay.
You know, they can do something maybe basic with the data they have. I know we're still waiting on the Northwoods Ava Hope survey, and many months, so
Okay.
they're busy, but we can ask and see what we get.
I mean, setbacks is a pretty easy thing. Maybe getting numbers on burrowing underground is a different story.
Yeah.
Well, my other question about burrowing underground is, that's why I asked about the delineation maps. Because if in fact we're using the DNR's map, does that map show that that's wetlands?
Well, wetland delineations are only valid for a certain period of time after you do it, and those other maps are just advisory, because we've seen that a lot of.
All right, I just don't want to go down.
They change.
Yeah, I mean,
They
like,
constantly
we,
change.
I think we might want to do something, or we could ask for delineation, but that takes
Okay.
time, because I think there's only certain parts of the year that they do it, and
Okay.
Just one clarification.
Sure.
That would make the 3 of you happy. Is that when the parking was originally calculated, on the one that was approved,
Yeah.
okay? The parking was calculated on, the 8,200 square feet, which included the porch.
With the
You
porch.
don't include the porch.
Okay.
So the parking is reduced by 4 spaces, removing the porch.
Because I think it was 50 spaces or something, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
No, it was
Remember.
41
41, okay.
for the gross floor area, which then dropped to 37, and then 25 for the chambers,
Okay.
and 7 for the employees.
Just a note too on that one, I know we haven't decided what to do with the barn, but Louise, I don't know who was on the committee at the time or if it was in this committee, but we had talked about possibly, because that barn's in such great shape, maybe it could become a future farmer's market. And I did mention that to some people on the historic society saying, hey, I know you don't want to move right now, but someday if you want a year round, so back in the day when we first purchased the property, the thought was that parking lot would serve that dual purpose of anybody going to the farmer's market, so it would at least have weekend use.
Well, in this committee, discussed and kind of made a temporary plan of the large and small dog park moving out there once trees grew, for the urban gardens, for keeping the buildings, for looking into renovating the home, for employee housing, for staff of the village, reutilizing the barn through the corner of the pass for a farmer's market. I mean, there's huge plans for not all the property, but a lot of it. It becomes more of a complex rather than we're gonna drop it here.
Yeah, if you put, just digress just a second, if you put the dog park or something to think about in the future, the dog park or the community gardens, you're gonna have to put in a parking lot for them, just so you guys remember that.
Well, right, and we talked about the shared parking there.
So let's try this motion. It would be.
I thought I just did.
Yeah, were you okay with, I'm sorry, I thought you were,
Did I?
You did.
Okay.
I apologize, so we're good.
Yeah, and we're good.
Okay,
I didn't get a second. Do I need a second?
Can you reread the motion?
I'm sorry.
If I could remember it, I would.
Yeah.
Did you write it down?
Motion to engage Stan Tech to determine the setbacks on the parks lot for the September meeting.
if possible.
And look at the cost for stormwater management, a projected cost for stormwater management.
If possible, because that one probably is a little bit more
Projected
complicated.
cost for stormwater. So I do need a second then, right? Yeah. Okay. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up is the fireworks ordinance.
So this, I was asked to put this on the ordinance, or I'm sorry, on the agenda for discussion.
Is this an enforcement thing? Or is it, do we want to raise the fees? That's, I know why
What was
this came
behind
up.
the ask?
I asked.
Okay, and what was behind your ask?
4th of
Because
July.
fireworks go on for a week before the 4th of July, pretty much a week after the 4th of July. You
So
need a
concerns
permit.
over nuisance of fireworks outside of the traditional.
And without
celebratory
permits.
period.
Well,
And
and without
we
permits.
adopted an ordinance a few years ago.
Mhm.
And no one got a permit. I've told this story before. I don't know if it's to the same members that were on it before, but I had a neighbor who was shooting off fireworks. And my neighbor's backyard started on fire. I mean, there's all kinds of debris. And you have people not just doing necessarily small little shows, as if you were downtown at all, everybody knows where I live, I hear all the fireworks that are going on. And there was a huge one on the 4th of July. I'm pretty sure I know who it was because they have them every year. And no permit. I told them last year afterwards, I said, you need a permit. He's like, oh, I didn't know that. I said, yeah, you need a permit. Didn't get a permit. And it's a big show. It's, I mean, it rivals what we do for, what is it? Marina Fest.
So right now fireworks are only allowed on the 4th between 8 and 10 PM and on New Year's Eve, 8 and 12:30. Clearly, so you just want to raise awareness that people need a permit.
I'm asking, we have an ordinance, nothing's done, nobody gets a permit. What do we want to do? Anything? Nothing?
Well, when you have something that nobody's complying with, either they aren't aware of it, so you have to raise awareness, or you have somebody that on the 4th of July or New Year's Eve is driving around giving, I don't know what the fees are. If they do it, they give $200.
Well, that's the permit.
Sorry, that's the permit, I beg your pardon. So if they are in violation, I'm looking for that, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't have a fee schedule here to know what the violation is. So it's $200 for a permit, and the violation is, I'm guessing, 300 or whatever it might be, so.
Nuisance violations usually go $100 to $500 for the first offense, and then they escalate as you hit your second and third.
So that's what would happen. I don't know how else to, because even if you say, okay, no fireworks, that's our ordinance is, you can't have any fireworks. You're still gonna have to make people aware of the permit.
And
And
we did take out ads at the time of adoption. And so I don't know, do we create a flyer that we put up a few weeks before and distribute it around town that you need a permit? Do we take out an ad in the paper? Liberty Grove has people who take out permits every year. So they have done something right where they actually have people take out permits. I don't know how many don't, but I know that some do. Oh,
well, we can ask them.
No,
I mean,
we should ask them. This is, I mean, I still hear some fireworks once in a while now, but you're right, they're really focused around that July 4th.
of course they are. Yeah, and then New Year's Eve, I don't hear a lot on New Year's Eve, but we have between now and New Year's Eve to do it, but we could do it quickly, and we need, I would say that this is something that you could apply to a number of things.
the tax insert.
Yeah, we could put in the tax insert. Yeah, I'm working on that now, actually. Okay, I'll add that.
I think if this is a permit that people have to apply for and in that application process, we remind them of safety and their responsibility and what the rules are. I think it's a good idea.
Well, the fire chief, the fire department's also supposed to be notified on who's
Yeah,
the addresses,
Yeah.
that's part of the permit, is the fire department is notified.
I mean, the alternative to my point is that around 4th of July, if you talk to the sheriff's deputies, this would be all they would be doing is trying to enforce this, and they don't enforce our stuff anyway, so it would be tough. But I like the idea of advocating, so people are at least thinking about safety and liability and their responsibility.
I'm wondering if, and you may not like this, but I'm wondering if 200, like if I know it's $200, I'm willing to try to just not pay the $200 and get away with it. Sometimes, you know what I mean? They may think it's too high. Do we lower the fee, hoping we get more compliance? That's sort of
That's
a
an
weird
interesting
way of
idea.
looking at it, but
That's an interesting
I mean,
idea.
$200 might be more than what they spend on the fireworks.
Oh,
I don't
no.
know. Okay. all
Oh,
right.
no, the fireworks there.
I know nothing
Well,
about
I don't think
fireworks.
that's
I've never, they scare me.
But you're still having that resistance, putting that friction in there to getting it. And what is our desire? Is our desire to know where these fireworks are? So if something happens, we can say, okay, this is what it was. What is our goal of having this permit? Or just to have people not want to go out there and are we dissuading people by charging $200?
Well,
Is that our goal?
I think the goal would be, one, to remind the person shooting off the fireworks what their responsibilities are to keep their neighbors safe, their friends and family safe, everybody around them safe. That's a reminder. Remind them that, you know, this is a liability and a responsibility of yours, nobody else's. And then, yeah, do it so that they are thinking about the safety tips for shooting off fireworks in a safe manner.
I mean, that's part of the code, as, you know, name, local address, email, permit holder, date, time, location of fireworks, type quantities, security measures in place to control unexpected explosion or fire, pyrotechnic license or display operator, certificate from a recognized organization.
See,
And
I
then it
would,
goes through to talk to also about, you know, notifying the village fire chief. And they
Well,
can
if we could make
capture
it
that.
easy where we just say, hey, look, it's $100. Here's what here's a checklist of things you have to do to make sure you're safe. And we're gonna take your name and address and we're gonna supply it to the fire department so they know where you are, and the paramedics so they know where you are in case something bad happens. If you just did that and we didn't have a very bureaucratic process where they gotta run through
You're
a whole
saying make it
checklist.
less restrictive?
Right now, I don't think people think there is a restriction.
they may not know that that they need a permit. I don't know.
Or they do and they don't care.
And what happens if you don't get a permit right now?
Nothing unless
Nothing, because you
Carla,
gotta be caught without a permit.
correct,
So-
unless Carla's out there or we have a police officer employed by the village.
People complain about them because of their dogs. A lot of
Yeah.
dog
Yeah.
owners hate them.
Yep.
But we can't prove, they can't even prove to us whose they are.
Yeah,
I mean, this happens everywhere. We're not unique.
Yeah, the sheriff's department actually puts up on there, like, don't call us if there's fireworks on the 4th of July, because no, unless we live in a police state, they're not gonna be able to enforce those rules that weekend, or that.
Right.
So if the end goal is to, if the end goal is to get them to not understand, but is to get a permit if they want to shoot off fireworks, then raising awareness, we'll put it into the year-end tax insert. And I think the fee could be lowered. Interesting to see if we get any more people apply. And then we can also communicate as we get closer to the 4th of July, because it seems like that's the most, when we get most of it.
All right, because it's 2 weeks.
So
So we can start in May. Remember,
do we still want
June,
to ask for a
remember.
pyrotechnic license? Because most of these people aren't gonna have a pyrotechnic license, and as soon as they see that, they're gonna say, okay, well, I can't get this permit.
well, I
Yeah.
thought also
I'm
with a
not gonna-
pyrotechnic license, you don't need it unless it's a certain amount of, or I don't know, I can't guess, Dave.
We did talk today when we wrote this.
Yeah.
We got his input, seeing he was the man with the knowledge.
You would know, for
Mhm.
sure.
If I remember right, we had looked at the county's rules and surrounding communities, and tried to keep it very compatible with what they had. And then had Dave review it.
Right, and Dave did make a lot of changes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Hi, Ron. Hi, Ron.
I could see reducing it to $100, I think.
Well, that's not for us to do. That would be the fee schedule. Isn't that?
Sure.
Well, you can have to make
We
a
would
recommendation.
We have to make a
recommend it to them.
recommendation to the board. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
How about we just leave it right now in the fee schedule? Let's see how it pans out for communicating ads,
Mhm.
flyers,
Mhm.
the tax insert, whatever we choose to do.
Mhm.
And see, because these are $200 for the people spending thousands of dollars. That's not holding them back.
And I think too, the ordinance is always good, even if people aren't following it, I hate to say this. At least it's in place, so when there is an issue, you know, if something horrible happens, you can say, look, we have an ordinance and they never applied, so.
Sure.
I think that's how a lot of other communities look at it.
Yeah, so then you can use that as to kind of protect the village from any.
To Nate's point for the pyrotechnician's license, if we were to remove that, it would probably entice people to apply more, but would that leave us in some sort of weird state of liability where we're approving someone to light off fireworks that they don't really know
It's a
what they're
question
doing?
for Dave, probably. I don't
That's
know.
a good question.
I just don't think people know about the ordinance and they don't care.
Oh,
Sounds like that's what it is. Let's increase knowledge and see what happens.
Friday night, they're coming to town, they see some fireworks on the side of the road, it's too late to even think or get a permit, because they're lighting them up that night or the next night. A lot of it, I think, just isn't.
I know, but it's also pretty inconsiderate
Very,
with your neighbors.
It's really,
I
yeah.
mean, the other thing we
There's a
could
lot
do
of
is we
stuff.
could get those gunshot detectors and triangulate where they are all over the village, if you really want to do that, and send them complaints on that.
Okay, moving on, binocular order.
Not helping.
Okay,
Okay,
so,
Mike, this is you. Thanks, Nate.
so
Um,
my kid give me the names, as you know.
This is you, Mike, binocular order.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Well, you
I
did
didn't
more
mean
work
you're-
than I
you're
did. I
like
just
just
gave you
trying to-
the names and showed you a few models.
Oh, I
So,
thought you were supposed to compile
I did.
the information.
I did. I gave her the examples. I talked to several of the manufacturers. The interesting thing is the one that we originally looked at, and I don't know which of these you actually had a chance to talk to, Julie, because I think you might have talked to one I didn't, is the Tower Optics one, which I think kind of got its name after 9/11, is not really looked at very positively in the industry. It's not, they say it's more of a fundraising tool than it is an optics tool where people can go to it and really get a good field of vision. The optics people were all kind of critical of it. What seems to be more popular and a lot less expensive is there are optics companies that sell heavy duty binoculars that they would encourage us to either install on a base, but have some sort of weather protection on so that they aren't in the direct rain or snow, or even to remove them in the winter time. And they say the optics are better. There are ADA compliant stands. The one manufacturer said they would even give us a design for a platform they've seen in other municipal areas where you basically grab the binocular. It's got kind of a link on it, and you could use it if you're in a chair or if you're standing. You could have a couple of pairs of them. They said their heavy duty pair that they use for municipalities, the binoculars are only about $100 a piece.
How do you use them if they're, I mean, they're secured, they're tethered to something?
They're tethered. They're basically tethered, and they
Okay.
said they would even help with the design of the tethering. And they said at $100 a crack, you might have to replace them every couple of years.
Well,
So-
compared to like the Italian company, yikes.
So there's options. I think though it's not as simple as we originally thought, because the Tower Optics is over 10,000.
Yeah.
Even for their non-coin based ones. And again, they're not really perceived as very good quality. The other alternatives in the packet Julie provided some pictures of. They're very easy to install. Eric, they suggested that if we went with them, we could just get the base where they drill them right into the existing concrete. So quite honestly, I thought that if we approve the kiosks and the platforms for the Historical Society, you know, we could even do some sort of campaign where we ask for contributions and add these binocular pedestals next to them. So pour the concrete so it's enough room so that we could add the pedestals. You know, do it after the kiosks with the information from the Historical Society is already in place. That's an option. So I just, that was the homework I did on it. And there are at least 3 alternatives. They are less money, but they, you know, they have their challenges too.
I'm really disappointed that Tower Optical doesn't have as good of optics, because I think all the other ones are ugly for our community.
Oh, the
Yeah,
way
they don't
look.
really fit. They're really,
Especially
contemporary.
next to
yeah,
Yeah,
the historical board.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
really contemporary. Tower is best, but
Yeah, I
if
mean,
it's.
that might be if
everybody
you
says
could hide
it's-
something or have a drawer where people pull them out, you don't see them. I don't
Well,
know.
that would be ugly too.
So Mike gave me
I don't mind the
the,
binocular idea.
Mike gave me the names and the websites of the ones he had talked to, and then I did dove down a little deeper. The Overwork one, which was the first one, just doesn't make outside telescopes, so that was kind of, I didn't even bother in prices on that, right?
Yeah, they stop.
Yeah, and then Seacoast, you know, you can see the pictures on the page 44. You know, not as attractive, kind of, I hate to say it, to me, it looks like something you'd see on a Navy ship.
Yeah,
Just kind of very,
Generic.
yeah, and then Velarde, beautiful, not our, in my opinion, it's not our style. And unfortunately, once you add in all the shipping costs and everything, it just got way out of hand. I have to disagree with Mike on the Tower Optical one, because that's the one that you're seeing in a lot of state parks and public places. It seems to be, and I'm thinking it's because of the durability, because it's a one and done where, you know, the other ones are aluminum. This one's much better material. It's something that, and it's weatherproof, right? It's not something that's gonna have to be taken in and out.
Didn't they say that, did you say that, I don't know if it's their competition or something?
it was their competition who did not. They basically gave the stat comparisons on the optics, the field of view, the durability of the lenses, the quality of the lenses, and they said that they find in just a couple of years, they don't have, you can't see clearly through them.
I think we should talk to another community someplace else in the country.
Has anybody
World that
seen
uses them.
those out there in the wild?
I have.
Tower optical ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them, and they do get rather hazy. I mean, like, I don't know how long they've been out there, but I can't remember looking through there and being like, wow, I can actually see a lot more.
Yeah, I did. I have the same experience where I've actually used them. It's more a novelty for the kids to be like, oh, I'm playing with this thing, and to actually
And
see
that-
something.
That may be what we're looking at ultimately, but it's good to
Well,
know
there's
that.
places that we can call. I'm at their website. There's a bunch of places we can call and say, hey, how do you, Cadillac, Michigan, easy. We'll call the office and say, how do you like that thing? Let's do that.
Yeah, we could. I didn't do that.
It's a cool little thing. It's the ADA one. It's on their homepage.
Does somebody want to volunteer to
I'll
make all
call.
those phone calls?
Sure, Golden Gate Bridge. But I'll call Cadillac, Michigan, because their climate is similar, same with Toronto, Ontario. So it'd be similar, oh my God, it's right by Niagara Falls, but anyway, I will, yeah, I'll call
Maybe
Cadillac.
Louis, when you talk to them, you know, about clarity, maybe have you ever had to replace the lens? How often, that type of
Okay.
thing.
I will, yep, I'm happy to do
So
that.
I do, and then, so I have a contact for Tower Optical, but we don't need that because.
No, let's see what
Just go off of there.
what these other guys have to say. All
Now, we
right,
want to make a decision on that hopefully pretty soon, because we do have to have that concrete poured. Thought was to pour it at the same time with the historic
Okay.
signage. We have to get on a contractor schedule.
Okay.
and try and get that poured before we don't have winter charges.
Well, they got one in
associated with the
Ludington, Michigan. I could take the
Badger.
Badger over and get a in-person view. Anyway,
Badger
yeah,
might some on the deck rats.
maybe they do. Let's call them. Okay, all right, I'll find out. All right, next up is review the historic signage proposal.
So in your packet, you have what Julie put together, Julie, the contractor, put together. So Terry Wolf and I met her out there, and this was the design. She's the one who designed she does a lot of the designs. She did Newport State Park, and she does a lot of communities that you go in, and they have historic signage throughout the community, everything from brass plates to other stuff. She's very talented, very professional. This was her design to make sure that a wheelchair fit under it.
Okay.
So the wheelchair would just pull right in, and then they're able to look right at it. Terry's concern was, Julie said they wouldn't want to go over 6 feet. Terry's concern was they need to be longer.
Yep.
And I had recommended perhaps it's just another 6-foot panel, so you'd have 3 stone pillars with 2, so you'd have the 12 feet if you wanted, or however long.
And she didn't think you could go over 6 because of flexing or?
Right, yep,
Okay.
6 is what they recommend. But if we wanted longer, we would just add another,
Yeah, basically a third pedestal.
just double it.
I think the pedestals are they take up way too much space.
Totally agree.
You can only get
Way too
one
big.
person in there to
Yeah.
look at it.
I agree.
That,
It should go east-west. Sorry, north-south,
like a wall.
not east-west.
And if we're gonna do two.
But she did that to try to get a wheelchair underneath it. That's, I think, why she
Well,
did
the
it.
height is okay.
Right, but a wheelchair up to
They
it, but
just
it
have to
should
be
go
narrower.
this way.
Julie, did she do the new ones that are out on Rock Island in the boathouse there?
I think she did,
Because they look exactly like this, and they aren't on the pedestals, they just come down, they're beautiful.
yeah.
They're
Well,
really
maybe we
nice.
don't need pedestals. I mean,
Well, or a
stone
much
pedestals.
subdued.
But they look just like this, but to Denise's point, there's no concrete slabs, there's just legs that go down to the ground.
Yeah, I think something like this, if we want to tie it in with the stone and everything, I think I know what you're saying. They might look better if they're just narrower. not so
They're
wide.
way too.
You want multiple people to be able to.
Yeah. Mhm.
You basically extend the legs to whatever the ground material is, and then you could clad them with some stone to get this.
Or just extend them down
Pretty
and
look, yeah.
they're black and you call it a day.
And the ones at Rock Island, there's three of them to a story. 1, 2, 3,
And are they connected or are
No.
they 3 separate?
standalone.
Are they about 6 feet long, you think?
They look exactly like this.
They're about 6 feet
That
long.
might be a picture of the rock.
Yeah, no, the ones I saw were the indoor ones. I didn't go over the whole island, but yeah.
Oh, these are indoor.
No, the
Rock
ones
Island.
at Rock Island, I think they're there temporarily though.
So would our recommendation be narrower pedestals? And then double it, so there'd be 3 pedestals, but 2 signboards?
You want to be able to read and move and scooch down if there's 2 of them side by side. So the pedestal that's in the middle, let's say, holding two of the brackets, can't be protruding necessarily out, because then you gotta, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
You want the signboard to extend out closer to the person than the pedestal itself, at least equal or closer to the person.
Yes, so you can, as you're reading, you're just, okay, we're this, now I'm here.
Instead of stepping
all right,
around
And then
a
you gotta
base.
go, that makes no sense.
Basically, if the pedestal bar holding it up wasn't attached at the very end, if it was attached partway along, that would allow for that.
True.
Say that again, Jerry.
So right now, if you look at the side view, there's the pedestal going to the ground and then the sign goes like that.
Yeah.
If this were to move to be here, then even with some light cladding with stone, it's not protruding out, so you can
Yeah,
walk along. the
yeah.
village.
It's vertical, it's not horizontal. So it's basically some sort of a facade that looks like stone, okay.
Instead of screwing it into the concrete here, Julie, in the front, it's in the, more in the center,
Yeah, the support post.
the support post.
You're saying this, what I'm thinking you're saying is support post and it's kind of encased in the stonework.
Yep,
No,
that's what Jerry's saying.
Yeah, you can still encase it in stone,
Oh,
just a
yes,
small,
yeah.
not a massive pedestal.
no, I think you and I are talking about two different things.
I got both.
Or
of
I'm
you.
still not understanding, because I'm thinking what you're drawing means that instead of this base here, it's attached in the back, in the center.
Right,
Okay,
and then it goes straight to the ground,
okay,
and then you can encase it in a small stone pedestal, so
Okay.
it's not just metal.
okay, got it.
And then it doesn't stick out in front of the sign.
Right.
Encumber.
So I'll talk to her about the two different designs, if everyone's okay with that. And also the idea of, yes, having the two signs instead of just the one to make sure we get everything that the Historic Society wants.
Because this will be used in multiple locations, right? This is the start of this. And so is our thought is to have three here eventually at some point, two here, do we know?
Well, right here, we had talked about whatever's here is on the waterfront.
Yep.
And then from there may be other places you want it.
Well, and
Let's
we
say
would
at
have to,
Waterfront.
you would have to have that conversation with the Historical
Yeah.
Society on how much information are they putting? Would they need 3 here, which then would mean additional pedestals if we wanted 3 boards, 18?
I don't know, I don't, honestly don't remember, I think you're right, gonna figure that out.
And then we had talked about, starting with this, and then the next phase, of course, is what we had talked about quite a while ago, which was signs on or at buildings, like in front of Roots, there'd be a sign, and the committee's gonna have to decide what do they want? Is that a bronze plaque? Is that something outside? And I talked to Julie, she said, in most communities, people want different things. So maybe this guy wants it in his yard, okay, then it's always gonna be that location on every property. Maybe it's to the left of the door, you know? Some want the plaque. So, okay, if you're gonna have a plaque, it's always on, let's say, the right side of the door. But they always have the same messaging or look.
Yeah, so
So that's very cohesive, so they know it's part of a signage program. And she said, once we're done with this, then she would come back and meet with us and work with us on the phase 2 plan.
It'd be great to see some recommendations she would have, or photographs if she's done other work.
She does a lot of work, and she has.
On residential or commercial properties, okay.
I want to say Wawatos, but I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look.
Well, I'm also a little concerned about the next photo on its placement. That's not where we talked about it.
Is that just a placeholder for that photo, or? is that
Because we had
where it really
talked
is?
about it kind of being more in the area, and, you know, whether we have 2 or 3, may have to shift a little, but more to the north, in front of the fire pit.
Yeah, more fire
Yeah.
pit to boathouse.
Yeah, towards the boathouse.
So she did say when we were standing there, okay, first of all, we also agreed we'd go out there and identify the exact location before everything goes in the ground. She did make the comment, would be ashamed to have this beautiful sign with that fire pit right there. And I agree, when we were standing there looking and she's describing it, and here's your sign, and then right here's your fire pit. It looked pretty tacky, I'll be honest with you. You got, I'm not saying, you know, give up a fire pit, but you had a sign, and then right away you had some crude rocks kind of around a burn pit, so.
But those crude rocks are our history.
Yeah, but I mean.
But I
so-
mean, we talked about repositioning the fire pit also.
So I think she's just trying to show it's not right on top of the fire pit like that, but it is to the side, but that doesn't matter because we have to decide that. And we haven't done that yet. We have to approve this.
Well, it's just not where we talked about. That's all I wanted to
Especially
bring
if
up.
Closer
there's
to the
gonna
fire
be, especially if there's gonna be 2 or 3. That's
Yes.
a lot of linear footage.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so I will talk to Julie about redesigning that. And again, this is one too, we need to get on the contractor schedule. When they come to, I've held off lining up the work with the man who's doing the benches and the counter because he's got to do it all at the same time. We don't want him,
Mobilizing multiple times.
so we want to make decisions on that hopefully at our next meeting.
But if we change this post design, all we're gonna need is a flat work done, correct?
She's gonna need to have a different frame made. They have this frame, this is kind of like a standard frame that they use. So she would just need to have them design a different frame, and then, yeah, we have to have flat work, and then we have to, the two we're looking at would still have the stonework around it.
Up next is 6K. And Eric, this is the robo mower estimates that you sent in, that you did?
Yeah, this was a committee request for the last one. Ended up researching a bunch of different autonomous GPS guided robotic mowers for the committee here. Does anybody have any questions on this at all?
Well, I guess I'll break the bad news. Finance pulled this from the CIP for next year and pushed it out to 2027 because the CIP was about $225,000 over budget. This was one of the things that went. So if you hang on to the information, we may have to recontact them again next year for any updates, if there are any.
Yeah, I can hold on, and from what I've learned, like with any new technology, it is developing quick.
Right.
So.
Yeah, exactly. That can
Yeah,
help you.
this definitely looks like the future. So yeah, I'll hold on to what I got and then we'll see what happens next year.
I guess something I'd like to say about this though is I think it's important that we look at more than just a particular unit that we're gonna get. Look at the whole family, because when it comes to technology, you wanna live in the same manufacturer. If you're
Sure.
doing this, so you might wanna say, okay, well, this is this unit and this is what the bigger model or the smaller model looks like. So I think it's important we look at the whole family, not just the specific unit when it does come back.
Yeah, here are the other things in the family that do snow removal or leaf pickup.
Yeah, the
or
only one in
whatever.
the family right now that's modular is the Yarbo. It comes with a snow blower, you can buy a snow blower, a leaf blower, a grass cutter, and a thatcher.
The Yarbo is like super new too. I think it's only.
The
been out for
Yarbo's
less than
1
a
year out,
Yeah.
yep, you're right, and it's the first one on the market that's modular, when it comes to that. So I actually just met the Yarbo guys from West Bend this morning to go over, and they were gonna put together, they were gonna beat the websites, $75 off on too, that I researched. So I'll wait for their proposal and I'll present that next year to you guys then.
Will any of these guys let you use any of these units? I know we've already demoed one. To demo any of them?
Yarbo wants to demo.
Good.
So they were very intrigued
Great.
To let us kind of experiment with them.
Okay.
He was pushing the grass cutter and the snow blower out of the sports complex. So, we'll see. I think he's more inclined to do the demo for the grass cutting machine, maybe out on the softball field right now, since it's not even being utilized. We just stick it out there, see how it does.
Okay.
Maybe he comes back in the winter and does the parking lot.
Yeah,
For the snowball.
demoing a snowblower would be beautiful.
I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
If they're willing to come up, so.
I wonder what that would do on an ice rink.
I told him about that. He thinks it would be fine, actually. I don't think it's meant for ice, but he didn't think.
But as opposed to a
It's
Zamboni?
a track machine. So.
No, I mean, I think you're talking about right now, instead of shoveling, having that go out there and do it. And that probably is one of the best use cases for that, where you've got a controlled area. As long as it cleans the surface up good enough. because-
Controlled really flat area.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I know from cleaning off ice rinks when I was a kid, just getting the snow off isn't enough. You've got to get it off and get it clean and have a decent surface on there. So it'd be
And when
interesting to
was-
see.
I was talking to Segway, And they're like, just wait till this September when there's a 5-acre unit that's coming out. That's gonna be introduced to the market too.
A 5-acre,
Yeah,
because these are all like 2, 2.5.
Yarbo's is 6.
Oh,
But it can be a little deceiving on how, it's 6 acres a week. You gotta really read the fine print of these things. But yeah, they said that Segway is coming out with a 5-acre this fall. So, yeah, I'll have my eye on it and,
Great.
I'll present this again next year for you guys and see what it is and go out there.
okay, so now we move to the Parks and Streets Director's Report. Does anyone have any questions, or would you like to highlight anything here, Eric?
I have some comments, Eric. You don't have any?
I really don't have anything. The one thing I didn't include on here was, I'm still waiting on that driveway, easement to get turned into traditional curb and gutter. And it's just a game of telephone with JF. So that, I just left it off there because he just still cannot give me a confirmed answer of when he can get down there. That'd be my only comment.
So as far as Eric's number 1 there, that parks maintenance facility, we did go through that last week with McMahon and Alliance, and they did give us the all clear, or basically the certificate of, I don't want to say occupancy, but safety as far as your furnace is working, your HVAC is good and everything. The only thing we have to worry about is if somebody would hit a sprinkler. But I don't, in the ceiling, because that, but that's something totally different. So, and Eric, I think Eric's aware of that. The committee though, Eric, you know, we were eager to move in there, but the committee, and not the committee, a committee, was it finance? I can't remember, had said, well, we should really have an open house, some coffee, some donuts before you move anything in. Which messes up your schedule a little bit, but.
Well, I also can't fully move in until the internet's in there.
Yeah.
So I don't wanna be, I'm here at the old facility and all my guys' stuff is here. You know, and then we're running back and forth, trying to figure out things.
So I think, as far as soon as they have that landscaping in, which they think is gonna be this week, maybe we could schedule the open house before anything is moved in there.
What I wanted to do was get out of the rental unit and start getting stuff into cold storage and start cleaning up around Logger Quest, getting that stuff on the property.
I think moving into logger or cold storage, you're fine.
Okay,
The big thing is they want the building empty for the.
I wasn't gonna start tackling that building until my internet was in there. And then I could just like move in.
When it's charter, right? That's
Yes.
doing
In
for
September
Spectrum,
11th, I believe.
September, oh, okay.
So it's still a ways out.
So then we would have a little bit more time to advertise an open house. Because we were just thinking that if a whole bunch of people show up, it would be better just not to have a whole bunch of expensive equipment and stuff
Right.
as people wander everywhere.
When you walk in there, it seems huge until you remember, oh, that's all shelving. Oh, that's all, you know, so. We did have some, I don't want to say complaints, but a neighbor had raised some concerns about the lighting, the color of the cold storage buildings and stuff like that. I got that shortly before the meeting. So we'll have to.
The color of the
Plan for,
Just
plan
needs
for,
to be repainted.
yeah,
Yeah.
To
maybe
match.
paint that sooner
Yeah,
than we
it's-
had thought, and
You're
then,
right.
I think you just re-side it. I don't think that thing's gonna take.
if we have the money.
Yeah.
Which we'd have to budget again for it, because the 4 million's tapped out, because we had to put in the sewer lateral.
Yeah.
And we had to do construction over the winter because took us not long to get to a contract.
We can put the shelving in there, can't we? No?
In the cold storage?
No, I'm sorry. I'm back to what, like, would the shelving be in there in time for the open house in the main building, or you don't want to put that in? No?
Eric, do you want to move the shelving in?
I mean, there's so much to move. I mean,
Oh, never mind. So we're using
Doesn't matter.
never mind. We're using existing shelving.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that. Okay.
I mean, what I'm thinking is let's get out of the rental unit this month. Let's get our stuff, because I just talked to Rod today. He's like, we're all ready to go with cold storage, lights are on, power's back on, great. Let's terminate our rental, let's get our lift and our boat back in cold storage. Everything else that needs to be back in cold storage that's outside, sitting by the barn. They can focus on that stuff first, clean up that property. And then, you know, after September, the internet's there, then focus on the main building after you guys' open house and everything like that.
Yeah,
So
yes.
could we have it then the first week of September?
Sure.
Or would we want to have it right before Labor Day or right
Have
after
it
Labor
after.
Day?
I'd have it after.
Okay.
That's
Well,
when we're
because right
having our-
before Labor Day is right before school starts, and everybody's hair is kind of on fire then a little bit, locals with getting, and maybe away. I don't know, I do it after Labor Day, that's just me, sorry.
The
Your
week
hair's
of
on
Labor
fire at school time?
Parent, not mine,
Oh,
but if you got a kid in school, you're getting everything.
I thought you said.
Jerry,
I thought
help
you
me out
said
here.
Me.
You're trying to get your kids ready for school and you
Okay.
got a lot going on and stuff,
Okay.
so.
I'll check and see when Alliance and Mike is available around that time. Not to conflict with the Robert E. Lee meeting, which is originally they wanted to do September 4th, but I asked them to wait until after the Parks Committee met and looked at the plan. So that'd be delayed a week.
So we're gonna do it during the week, right? Not on a weekend?
I think if we want Alliance and Mike to come, the architect and the contractor to come, I think you almost have to do it during the week.
I think that's fine.
Like late afternoon into early evening, like a 3 to 6 or a 4 to
You guys
7.
had said coffee and donuts, so I thought,
I know, but there's a lot of people that work, so I think you have to, just like we had scheduled some of our open houses, you know, we had a range, if we had multiple meetings, somewhere in the afternoon, somewhere in the meeting, not, so I'm trying to think, how do you get as many people that might want to come out there, and that would be possibly late afternoon, right after work, I don't know.
I don't
I'm just
know.
asking.
yeah, I don't know. I know with the planning process, we would time, especially with the pork, we had timed all different. We did weekend meetings, we did daytime meetings, we did evening meetings. And it seemed like the one that got attended the most was during the day, if I remember right, because we have retirees and that's the majority of the people that attend our
People are
stuff.
gonna come, are gonna be a little bit, I think 3 to 6 is fine. I do, or you wanna do 2 to 6 or something like that, and you just have light snacks, fine. And soda and water, and you're good to go.
There doesn't even have to be snacks, it could just be drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not worry about food. Well, who says you can't have a donut at 3 o'clock in the
You
afternoon?
can have a donut at 3.
I've had a
You can have
donut for
cupcake.
dinner, I've had ice cream.
I
Why-
think
why
we
might
should
we
just
have a-
entrust staff to make that decision.
You can have cupcakes at 3.
Yeah, I
I
would
wish I
think
had
we
one
would-
right now.
I would think we'd just do a big sheet cake that says,
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that'd be
Sheet cake.
fun.
Yes,
Sheet
sheet
cake is
cake.
very fun. Okay, any other questions for Eric?
Julie.
I
Okay,
remember.
Thank
this.
you, Eric.
Eric, thanks. That move's not gonna be your best time of your life, but it'll be
We'll
fun.
get it done.
You'll be fun once you're there.
See, I think it would be very exciting.
I think it would be exciting too. I've moved so many times in my life, but at the actual moving part,
Oh, putting
That's much fun.
everything
Oh,
where you
God.
want it and
Yeah, but it's
organizing
the
it.
timing
God,
of it because
no.
Fall Fest is right there.
Keeping everything working while you're moving, that's the hard part. It's
That's
not like
true.
you get to pause.
yeah,
If
I've
you
moved
could
to
just
home.
pause
I've
the
not
village
moved
for a
my
week, that'd be
office much.
Yeah, no,
awesome.
Yeah, we can't just focus on that. I mean, it's just little bits here and there. We're just gonna have to. Right.
Okay, future agenda items.
We have one
Yeah,
more.
we didn't
Administrators
report.
report.
I really didn't have time to put much in here,
I
but
didn't
that's
see.
what came to
Oh,
the
I'm
top
so
of my
sorry.
head.
That, I missed that page. I'm so sorry. Okay.
So Tony gave
55.
us that beach warning.
Yep.
Basically, ours is still en route.
That thing is huge.
Thank God that's not ours.
Yeah. That's what,
Oh, good
We could've
Lord. I mean,
had-
I bet it could, I bet it caught that tsunami. That this thing is big enough.
yeah. Yeah. Well,
Jeez.
we opted for the one where we have power to it. Eric, did Mike run the power to the, where that beach warning sign is? gonna
So
go?
I met with Mike, what was it? 2 Fridays ago on that, trying to get on his schedule. I was hoping that he was gonna be able to do it last week. Unfortunately, he was not. I'm anticipating this month, in working with him to get that sign up and running. I've had a initial meeting with him, we kind of went over our game plan with it. Now it's just a matter of him getting some time and getting it up there and us assisting in that.
And for anybody who thinks about budgets or question, why is this in the budget or whatever? This is a project that was actually budgeted last year, but you just can't get the contractors out there. So it ends up going into the next year's budget.
Well, it's also the sign today. It took over a year just to get the sign, so.
Which we didn't know when we got
Right.
into this, they never
Yep.
said that.
Yeah, it takes time.
Louise, are you still on Marina?
No.
Okay. I think next month we should have an agenda item, and I don't know if we would get information from the Marina manager pertaining to maybe getting some cameras at a couple of different places where we can capture license plate numbers down at Pebble Beach and people on the beach. Because I know that they have,
Why is that? Just to see what they're using out there? I mean, like, why the Marina manager? I'm curious.
because they got new cameras.
It's a bit different kind of cameras they're gonna use there. I think the challenge is gonna really be at Pebble Beach's connectivity out of there, which was probably something that we could do to make that happen. But, I know the guy who does the cameras for Carpenter Jandu. He's got stations all over the place.
Yeah, I
and
know.
He pulls, I know they actually have active license plate readers. I also talked to the guy who actually put the cameras in. I can ask him, but I don't think those are armed.
Okay.
Plate readers, but.
So while we're waiting for it, why don't we just put up a sign that says we're doing license plate monitoring for people removing rocks?
Well, if you're gonna do that, you have to put up a fake, I mean, you shouldn't say that in a meeting, never mind.
Okay, I was joking.
You know, I wish we had a very strong volunteer group, because this would be a good one to say, hey, who wants to volunteer to go sit at the park for 2 hours and just do tour shifts where you're looking to see people that are stealing rocks? I wouldn't mind sitting you could pay me to go sit at that beach.
I think most of the time when people are taking them, they're gonna be like, oh, nobody's looking, nobody's here, I'm gonna take these and get out of here quick.
I will say I've seen some locals, but I've told people to take rocks out of their pockets, and I have seen some friends of mine too tell people, so it's like locals who know and see it happen.
Yeah, they try to protect it.
They do try to protect
What
it.
the
I have
heck is
seen
the
it.
deal with the rocks? Why do they want?
Because they see it, they just think it's cool.
To
I
be
don't
honest,
know.
actually, they think it's cool, and sometimes, I don't know how many times I've heard it, because actually, I had to tell my mom to take rocks out of her pockets. I didn't say that, because she loves the heart-shaped rocks, and then I heard it I was just at the beach last night, and I heard, I ended up staring at them probably for a little too long, because they were talking about the heart-shaped rocks and how they collect it, and I was just watching them to see if they were putting it.
So they're just that unique, the smooth finish that they just.
I guess, depending on where you're coming from, or where you might be visiting
Yeah.
from, you might not see it.
Well, we don't like it when people put it in their pockets, the big problem is when they show up there with a bucket.
Yeah, I did see somebody came in on a boat also too, and took some rocks off the bottom, big rocks off the bottom, and that was.
So you can get the numbers on the side of their boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Oh, the Coast Guard.
The person that brought it to our attention was people that are taking them and painting them, and then, they're doing them, I don't know if they're selling them, but a lot of people put them around town then, right?
They do,
That's
so
rock
people
painting.
can find them.
Yeah.
Yep. But if people, it is a bit of a deterrent if they think that, we're under surveillance because they're trying to save our beach.
Now, I remember there was a former SBA director that said that she was gonna work with me on making a video to post on social media.
Yeah, but then I think
Whoever
she
that
said,
was.
I think she thought it was really stupid and decided not to do it.
I know we had talked about how we wanted this, or I was at a meeting and committee members had talked about how we wanted this beach to not be advertised and really stay local. And I think one of the things is, I know Wisconsin has
We've always tried to do that. I mean, the
now.
SBA's tried to do it. We've tried to
Yeah,
discourage it
Wisconsin
with
does, and now the land
DDC.
trust does too.
We've asked DDC
Yeah,
not to use it.
A reel, so like on Facebook, you can, or Instagram, you'll
It's
see
a
these
video.
reels come through. It's a video, a
Of
short.
Pebble Beach?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they don't last long. They aren't up there forever,
State of
but yeah.
Wisconsin and the Land Trust are the two
I
that
did
I've
notice
seen.
that, because we finally got, and I will say like DDC has come to us a few times to ask if they're like, hey, we have a picture from this, from Pebble Beach, can you post it? And we say no. And so I did notice that Land Trust, that was just a few weeks ago, I think.
That's odd. You could give her a call, just
Yeah.
ask her.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we can.
Emily, yeah.
Because I think, because they were wanting to promote just the fact that they saved it.
But she would, I think she
Or,
would
you know, or
understand
Not saved it, made it public.
why, yeah.
But yeah, it was because I was about to get on the phone to call Jen, because I just was scrolling and I saw it, and I was like, I thought it was DDC again. But no, they've been very, yeah, they're doing anything at that whole.
Denise, I'll see what I can come up with. And I'll get that for the next
Okay.
meeting.
Anything else, Julie?
No,
Okay. Next meeting? Okay, I'm calling about, I'll report back on binoculars. All right.
Yep. The Tower Optical ones.
Tower opticals, correct. I'll bring up, well, this is for finance, the prototype, not prototype suggested for the tax insert, but that's not this meeting.
So next meeting too, we'll have, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead, aren't I?
No. that's what we're
So
talking about.
next meeting, we're gonna have Robert E. Lee with their initial plan. Because they're gonna meet with the public shortly after that.
We might have Stan Tech with the,
Yep, if they get that
Setbacks.
done in time. And then just a question, whether this should go on next meeting or be referred to the parking committee, but so Mike brought up, a lot of parking things. Do we want to continue to address those here or refer them to the parking?
Parking hasn't met, and I mean, I didn't want to burden staff by having a meeting on there, but
Well, I think that's one where you said staff wouldn't be at that, you guys would do it and give us
Okay.
some minutes, but I think that it seems like more and more parking things are come to us and we're kind of winging it.
well, it'd be nice to get a recommendation from the parking committee, the biggest of which is, do we remove parking places that are currently designated as parking on either side of a crosswalk? That's-
I mean,
So
I don't
my
think we
opinion
need
is
that.
absolutely yes.
We've talked
We
about
don't
it
need to
multiple
be,
times.
yeah, just a question of how you do it. And I'm in favor of putting big concrete planters of some sort, at least for the
We
season.
talked about that.
How much need on that, add some life.
Yeah, you put plants in there and you like,
Yeah, as long as it's short or something, they can see around the plant. Right.
I'm in favor of anything that makes it safer.
Okay, so yeah, are you, who's chair of park?
I am,
You are,
we have
okay.
not, we've had a vote on that.
Okay, okay.
I think that also might be a softer conversation for that committee to start with, rather than dive into parking meters and all this other stuff that
Okay.
some people throw out there.
Were we also going to, this is relating to Country Walk Drive. We were gonna,
So Eric's
is it
gonna-
hard to figure out if, Eric's gonna do, right?
Yeah, Eric's gonna look at
That
the no
estimate.
parking, the
The school
speed
sign.
zone and the school zone, and then you may as well look at the speed zone right away.
So it's the
Yeah,
state
we
that has
could
to
get
tell
a
us.
temporary bump
Speed bump?
just for a while, and that would teach a whole bunch of people a
Yeah,
lot.
and we don't need permission, we can just do that, we can put in the temporary bump ourselves. We can designate the school zone, we can, speed zones, all of that we can do on our own streets, it's just that we wanna follow the manual the DOT recommended manual to make sure it's what people recognize. Right height, right
Right.
spacing, right colors.
Well, the bump should probably come past, the bump should probably come off of 57. That side, but maybe after after you take a left towards the childcare center. Right?
Yeah.
Because if they're going left in the child care center, they're gonna slow down anyway, you know what I mean?
That would make sense.
I take that as a shortcut. I think a lot of people do.
I do,
To avoid
on
the
occasion,
traffic.
depends. So do we
See,
have,
people using it as a shortcut are probably all speeding because they're in a hurry.
Yeah, you're trying to avoid what's downtown.
Could be. Eric, do you have something that can be used as a speed bump for Country Walk Drive?
I think I do. I think I have a one.
You do, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be surprised, won't it? Okay.
Eric, at one time they said we had a, I don't want to say thermometer, what, you know, what that'll, traffic counter, portable traffic counter. Did you ever find that?
Traffic counter, I never found.
Because I read in some old minutes that we bought one, but I know,
The only one that I remember seeing was up by, Lure. On 5742 there, but I don't know if the DOT.
I
I
thought
never
that
knew
was
there was
ours, I
one there.
think Zeke had put it there,
Yeah, that rings a
like
bell.
2017 or something along those
That
lines.
doesn't, yeah.
Yeah.
You might be right, yeah.
Art, do we have one of those things that does the radar and tells people how
How
fast
fast they're
they're going for when we put new stuff? Will the county put one up for us temporarily? if we
Bailey's has
reduce-
had one going south
We can
on
request.
57 going into
And when
Bailey's.
we
Permanent
lower,
ones, you're saying.
when we lower the speed limit there for, you know, children, for school, we could put that up too as a reminder.
I think we have to rent that from somewhere because the DOT has, you know, for 57, I think the county might have one that we can borrow or rent. Or find a
That's what
municipality.
Sarah
that has
just said, the county does that we can borrow.
It's out on Old State Trail, I think.
Well, Bailey's, is that permanent, the one that Bailey's has?
The ones Bailey's has is permanent. The problem with a permanent one is it makes an impact for people when they realize it.
forget
If they, or they get used to it being there and they're
Yeah,
like, oh, I don't really
I
care.
get used to it, but I do, you know, it slowed me down.
It's better if you can
I don't
move
really
around.
speed that. I don't, but yeah, I didn't know it was permanent, okay. But those are, they don't need power, right? They're
Yeah,
all
they-
battery.
They have to be about $10,000-ish. And they can be solar powered. I think Jacksonport's ones are solar powered, but they're not gonna work in the winter very well.
Eric and I actually got a, I don't know what you want to call it, promotion today in our email, Albert, with all the different types of traffic control signs that communities can buy and what the costs are. So if you want to look at those.
Okay,
We
so
don't have to
now,
do that, but-
everybody good with the next meeting being on September 8th? Because Labor Day is the 1st?
Yeah, that's good.
And then do we want to schedule a walking tour for Pebble Beach now? Or you want to wait till, the next meeting?
Let's schedule the next meeting because it's August. Let's get through the season.
Yeah, between now and Labor Day or the week after, Pebble would be busy. Well, maybe not, yeah, probably busy. What's a corp review?
So, our comprehensive outdoor recreational
Ah,
plan is really being scheduled.
Thank you, Eric.
Sydney did finish it. I went through it and I had several pages of just typos and things that didn't make sense or whatever. So I'm waiting for her to fix the errors and then give it back to us so we can review it. But it's not the type of thing you do at the end of the meeting because we'd be sitting here for, you know, another two hours. So I had talked to Louise about scheduling a special meeting just to review it, give it the time. And I know there's people that say, hey, you don't have public at these, we didn't know you were doing it. It's a special meeting, it's their time to come in and make comment on it too, so.
Well, we can call it a public input session too, or a public, make sure, that we make it clear that we want the public there.
Listening,
Yes.
And this
because
is,
input, it's already been done,
Right,
but it's
you're right, it's a
listening.
listener.
and this comes from Lake's report to us a while back, or Bay Lake, sorry.
Yeah, we paid for this, you know, it's taken a long time to get done.
We need it, it's important for us, it's important.
Yeah, we can't apply for it. So these grants we talked about, me writing this in August, those reference, they have to be in a plan, so you want to reference a plan, so we want to get it adopted. Which, by the way, real quick, I probably should have brought this up before. Skylar offered today to write the TAP 42 grant, and I said, go for it. You know, as part of his MSA, let me just see the
Oh.
final product so I can revise it, make sure it meets our needs. But because with Sue, so our clerk resigned, so with Sue leaving, Sarah's gonna do the meetings, the invoices and the calls, and I'm gonna do everything else. There's just no time for a lot of stuff. So.
Okay. That's great for him. That's part of it. Is that continuing education or you said as part of MSA? I don't know what
So
that
we have a
means.
municipal services agreement with Stantec that
Okay.
they charge us just like Bailey's Harbor has one, some other communities.
Okay.
They charge you a set fee every month and they do work use, so, you know, like laying out the parking lot on that property. If it fits within, you know, if they haven't done anything for us this month and it's under 3,000, they just charge it as part of the MSA.
Right.
If it's above that, then of course you get
Okay,
it.
I didn't know what that was, thanks. Okay, okay, do you have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
See you guys soon.
Saying that we have, 3 of the finance
Finance
members here, next Monday, 1 o'clock. And, it is, Glad put in, I'm breaking it all out apart,
Least escalation possible.
so we can hopefully focus, because I don't feel like we got anything accomplished at our last meeting.
Wow, that's money, all of it.
It's only going to
He's
be the
gonna come to
budget.
meetings and all that, but I just want to
One
let you know.
o'clock,
that
you
I said,
Yep.
if you, he said, I can get a generator. I said, if you do that,
Okay, here,
we're going to
Yes.
the finance, probably figure out.
And, well, that,
Sure we can get up under uses at that point.
So I'm glad you told me that,
Yes.
because I was late
and so then we will, utilities,
It's just.
our next utilities meeting
Trying to get
next
the
week.
water done and
We'll deal with the budget there with
Because
Megan. I
Given
don't
the
know
issue
if Vlad's got
tomorrow,
anything
he's gonna
from
fight us on
Marina,
that.
and I'm not really too
Can you show
concerned
there?
about what they do, because it's not
Yeah.
a tax roll.
Like
Right.
he kept, I guess he
And then,
kept, pointing at.
we'll do
the
a
door
separate
every time they look at
one
it,
for
and turn it off,
CIP. I met with Vlad, for quite a few hours last week.
Yeah, no, he's not, I mean, I think it's helpful to.
But I can add that.
Going